Did I get rid of? Let's get the volume on. All right. Is D live? D is live. Is T witchy? T is witchy. Is U to be? All right. Is D live? All right. A little choppy. Is you to be? It is. Is Facebooky? It is. All of these things are true, except Europa. Kind of? Do you think you know that reference? You know it. Alright, let's go over here. I'm a little bit late getting started. Alright, let's start the intro.
Welcome to the 9D Nation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
That might be a little too quiet. Maybe level 4. Level 4. Yeah, that's probably good. Welcome to the 9D Nation, the nation with no denomination. I better get cracking because I got a lot of verses to cover, and I want to get it done in a half hour so we can start our panel on time. So, without further ado, let me read to you. This is episode 45, March 29th. Our story so far. Our story so far comes from Genesis 1:1 through Genesis 18:7. All right. No human angel half-breeds. No murder. No blood drinking. There are Greek Japhethites, Hamites such as Philistines, Canaanites, Assyrians, or Shemites like Abraham, who had Isaac, who God covenanted with to make a great nation, and Ishmael, who sired a great nation to the east. 3 special dudes visited Abraham one day and got Sarah's specialty pancakes and some youngling burgers. Oh. My phone just made noises. There we go. So let's get started. Let let me put on the screen Genesis 18, 8 through 21. That's tonight's task. Genesis 18. Genesis 18. Eight through 21. All right. Oh, 8. I almost didn't put the... Hey, Rev, in the house over there on Twitch. Good to see you. All right, let me read 8 through, whatever I said, 21. He took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them, and he was standing by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, "Where is your wife Sarah?" And he said, "There in the tent." He said, "I will certainly return to you at this time next year, and behold, your wife Sarah will have a son." So they said to him, then he said to him. So that changes who's talking. And Sarah was listening at the front door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old. The midweek crew is going. Yeah, Rev is right. Yeah, it's midweek. It's like where most of the union based crew is hanging out. We love them dearly, but what does it say? Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in age. Sarah was past childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I have become old, am I to have pleasure, my Lord being old also?" But the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, 'Shall I actually give birth to a child when I am so old?' Was anything too difficult for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you at this time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah denied it, however, saying, "I did not laugh," for she was afraid. And he said, "No, but you did laugh." Then the men rose up from there and looked down towards Sodom, and Abraham was walking with them to send them off. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do, since Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation, and in him all the nations of the earth will be blessed? For I have chosen him so that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring upon Abraham what he has spoken about him." And the Lord said, "The outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is exceedingly grave. I will go down now and see whether they have done entirely as the outcry, which has come to me, indicates." What, can I read English or not? "And if not, I will know." All right. Let's check on we've got a can. All right, everybody, here comes the can. That was the can from the commander himself. Black Yoda's in the house. Everybody, in about 25 to 30 minutes, Black Yoda is going to bring the commentary. All right. All right. Let me read to you. Hey, Queen Peckerwood. Good to see you. Man, it's been one of those, I say this every time, but it's been one of those weeks. Let's get chapter 18 up on the screen. Oh, I feel like I'm sharing. Oh, I'm not sharing the, not sharing the right. Hang on, let's get this fixed. There we go. It's funny. My phone has started talking. My phone just starts playing Sloan TV, which it should. X22 Report. Hello and welcome to the X22 Report. I'm your host. Is it Dave? Raven 2000 in the house. All right. All right, we're going to do verse 8 through 21 in what I'm going to call Hebrew. It's written on the screen as Hebrew, but will I read it as Hebrew? Well, you be the judge. All right, let me read 8 through 10, then I'll scroll down. Vayikach chema vechalav uven habakar asher vayitin lifneim yahu omed alehem tachat haetz vayachelu. Vayomeru belo aye Sarah ishtecha vayomer hine vayohel. Vayomer shov ashuv elecha kaet chaya vehine ven lesara ishtacha veshara shomat petach haohel vihu acharau. Scroll down. We'll read 11 through 16. And then I'll scroll down. Ve'avraham ve'sara zekenim bayamim charal leot lesara ora kanashim. Watishchak Sara bakirba lemor achare veloti hayate li edna wadone zaken. Vayomer ahaya el Abraham lama ze shachaka Sara lemor ha'ap umnem eled va'ani zakanti. Hayipale ahaya davar lamoed ashuv elecha kaet chaya ulesara vin. Seems like I left out a word there. Vatechachesh Sara lemor lo shachakti ki yara'a vayomer lo ki shachaket. Vayakumu misham ha'anashim vayashkifu al pene Sedom ve'Avram holech imam leshalecham. Ahaya amar ham chase ani me Avraham asher ani ose. Let me scroll down. We'll do 18 through 21, and then we'll switch to new words. Ve'Avraham hayo yiye lego gadol ve'atzum vinivrechu vo kol goye haaretz. Ki yedatiu lema'an asher yetzave et bana ve'et besto acharao ve'shameru derech hahaya lasot Sedaka umishpat lema'an havi ahaya el Avraham et asher diber alav. Vayomer ahaya zakat Sedom ve'amora ki raba vechatatam ki chaveda meod. Eradana ve'ere ha ketsaakata Haba'a ele atsu kala ve'im lo edaha. It sounds like I just read some Star Wars dialect, right? All right, now let's get cracking. Pete Thaggy's in the house. This is episode, to answer you, Raven 2000, this is episode 45. And we'll catch you up on our story so far again here in just a second. But first, let me give you the 3 new words. That's actually kind of a riff on Josie and the Pussycats. What? All right. 8. We were kind of in the middle. So, oh yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, in the house, we have... I do it every time. Sorry. No, not that button. No. The one, the only, the original underscore classical chick. Oh, yeah. Rev says that sounded Greek to him. Yeah, that same. Yeah, me too. All right. We got a lot of wood to chop and a very short time to do it because we got to get our panel, Black Yoda and crew, up and running. And I've got very little time to do it, so let me jump in. All right, Genesis 18. Okay. There's 3 new words here in verse 3. Chema, that's curd. There's 10 usages in the law and prophets. It's basically butter. Chalab, it's milk. There's 44 usages of that word stem in the Law and Prophets. It's basically milk. And amad, it's to take one stand or to stand. So it's a pretty strong standing statement. 525 usages in the Old Testament or the Law and Prophets. Pretty much to stand with an endurance. So standing with a purpose. So like wait patiently, I'm thinking. Guard over a bit. He's being a good attentive host is what's going on. So this verse, which we already read in English and Hebrew, basically says he grabbed milk product, burgers he made and set for them, and hung out under the tree while they munched. So our story so far can add on to the end. 3 special dudes visited Abraham one day and got Sarah's specialty pancakes and some youngling burgers with milk and dairy stuff under the tree. Notice they're practically eating a cheeseburger. Kosher doesn't exist yet. I just thought of that. Anyway, let's go to verse 9. I don't know. That's a mind bender right there. Oh, we're getting smoochies from the Minions. Nice graphic. Nice sticker. So there's one new word here. It's aye, and it means where. We've seen words that mean where before. There's 46 examples of this word stem in the Law and Prophets. It comes from ay or I, which we've seen. So it's a derivative of I, and it's aye. And it's remember when Ahiah called out to Adam after the fall? But we've only seen that word a few times. Where has not really been a concept we've needed a lot in terms of playing hide and seek. So I was thinking about it. So far, we've seen Adam and Eve, Cain, and Hagar in running away states so far. Have we actually seen Hagar run away yet? Yeah, she went back. So this verse would say, we already read it in English and Hebrew, so let me just kind of summarize it. The 3 mysterious peeps said, "Where's yo lady?" And he's like, right here, yo. Because where he says hine, it's a very revealing, like, ta-da start type of word, like right here. He's like, here, hine, ta-da, right here, yo, in the tent. Let's go to the next verse. That doesn't really appreciably change our summary. No new words here that we haven't seen in the first 44 episodes. He said, I'll return at lifetime and check it. Your wife Sarah will have a son. Like, see how he says surely return? That's by saying sov ashuv or sov ashuv. That's like, I'll return. Like, come back return. Like, not some kind of other return, but come back return. And check it. Lo, yo, your wife Sarah will have a son. Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. So the 3 special dudes visited Abraham one day and got Sarah's specialty pancakes and some youngling burgers with milk and dairy stuff under a tree. They, because remember this is 3 men talking and then 1 man talking. So they said, Sarah, who was eavesdropping, was pregnant. So now I'm going to tighten up our story so far and reduce it down to this. First 44 chapters plus this is as follows. Are you ready? Is he reading Hebrew? Wow, she just knew like that. That's awesome. My sentence diagramming is much simpler. I'm just doing the words in a row linearly. My main focus is just to kind of look at the words and how else they're used in the Bible. Kind of to just doubt the translators and go, prove it. And so far they've been doing pretty well. Raven 2000 says homeschoolers learn twice as much as everyone else, it seems. So our story so far. No demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and the Hamites, Shemite Abraham, father of the covenanted Isaac, and Ishmael, who sired a great nation to the east, received 3 visitors to learn eavesdropping Sarah was pregnant. Let's look at the next verse. Because I got to jam through this. I got to get through this. I got to get through this fast. I set myself up for a lot of work tonight. I know. Verse 11. There's 2 new words here. Zagen, that's old. There's 179 examples in the Old Testament. It's just old people. Pretty straightforward. Orach, a way or path. There's 59 examples in the Law and Prophets. If you go to studylight.org, you'll see it's the head of a man and a dividing wall. So, man outside. So, it's a methodology for creating thriving livestock, you find out if you go to studylight.org. So, it's like a shepherd doing a good routine. It's the outside man. It's basically, grandpa farmer or grandpa rancher. This is a complex word, I would argue. It's like gardening in a natural way or animal caretaking in a wise way. So is it really a path or is it a way? So this verse is saying Abraham and Sarah were old folk with lots of days, and Sarah was done with the womanly methodology. Orak in context is childbearing age, or so like the way of detox. Raven 2000 says detox is right. A year to detox. End of the 6th. Interesting. So our story so far, no demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and the Hamites, Shemite Abraham, father of the covenanted Isaac, and Ishmael, who sired a great nation of the east, received 3 visitors to learn that sneaky postmenopausal Sarah was pregnant, because she's like eavesdropping and postmenopausal. All right, let's go to verse 12, because that's what we do. Verse 12. Come on, verse 12. Let's do our thing. Watishkak Sarah, that means Sarah laughed. We already know those words. Bakirba, that comes from Kareb. That's the inward part or in the midst among. We've had words that kind of mean that, but I guess this is just one we haven't come across. There's 220 examples of this one in the Old Testament, the Law of Prophets. Most often it means midst, so I'm going to say internally. So she laughed in the midst. I swear we've seen a word just like this, but in my prepping, I thought we hadn't seen it before. Lemor achare, that's saying after. Veloti comes from bala. It means to become old or wear out. There's 17 examples in the Law and Prophets, and it's a sense of being beyond utility. Hayati li is I have. Edna, that comes from Eden or Eden, means delicate in this case. And there's 5 examples in the Law and Prophets. So the 4 other usages besides this one are luxury, delight, delicacies, and delicate thing. So I'm thinking it's a tender moment. It's very similar to the word for Eden, slightly different. One's a proper name, the other one's a word. Well, that's what they say. So this let me actually show you guys this concordance entry. I'm kind of like, what's the difference? They're just saying that this is 5730, whereas Eden Concordance Bible Hub. So let's zoom way in. So you see that. So it's a straight line down, kind of a weird looking T with 3 dots and an upside down triangle under it. And as I'm flipping back, oh, it is slightly different. All right, I'm going to take back my complaint. It is slightly different. Okay, never mind. There I was thinking I got him. All right, fair point. But it's real similar. So does that mean Eden is kind of precious, maybe? Have you guys been hearing the big waves? And this probably I bet you this comes up from time to time. But apparently Eden was in Florida. You didn't know that, did you? All right. And then she says, Wadoni, and my man is, that's how that translates, Zagen. That means to be or become old. 26 examples in the Law and Prophets, and it's similar to another word that means bearded man. So to put it all together, Sarah giggled and said, I'm postmenopausal. Will I regenerate with my old man? So our story so far. No demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and the Hamites, Shemite Abraham, father of the covenanted Isaac, and of Ishmael, who sired a great nation of the east, received 3 visitors to learn that sneaky, doubtful, and postmenopausal Sarah was pregnant. So I just added doubtful there. So she's sneaky, doubtful, and postmenopausal. Just highlighting what we're learning from the thing. 13. There is one new word in this verse. It's umnam. It means verily, truly, or indeed. There's 5 Old Testament usages. It comes from aman, which is a word we've seen before, which is to confirm or support. So Ahiah asked Abraham why Sarah laughed and said, for real, I'll have a child while old. So I'm going to add to the story. Ahiah challenged Abraham when Sarah doubted she could conceive a postmenopausal child. Let's go to verse 14. Get behind on the times. I gotta speed up. Eden is West Virginia. Pensacola. I think Tampa, maybe. Not sure. All right, verse 14 has one new word, pala, to be surpassing or extraordinary. 71 examples in the Old Testament. The impossible. So as to show up as an authority to help someone. It's like largesse. It's a miracle from heaven. If Pythagoras is still in the house, whoever wrote this is saying really loud, Abraham does not control the technology of fertility, his God does. So that's what they're saying in the text. I don't know why I put in my notes, call attention to Pythagoras. I just thought it'd be interesting, I guess. I'm wondering, do they say it this way? Here, let's look at this. Let's see, why did I say this? I feel like I was this was a few weeks ago before I went on vacation. I keep thinking Abraham has wise knowledge, ancient knowledge. But even all that won't get past this problem, right? Now, hold on a second. So it's pala is what's getting me going. So let's find... It's this word right here. Is it too hard? Surpassing or extraordinary? Is it so miraculous for Yahweh to do anything at the appointed time? They're really saying, they're playing it down. They're like, this is no big deal. So to put it all together, can Ahiah not do this? I'll be back and you'll see. Is it dramatic? Are they poking fun of the dumb humans in the only way to make sure everybody knows this is a miracle? Are they saying, it's not that big of a deal? Almost like sarcasm, right? Like, to me, if I'm writing this story, I would have said, behold, I shall be back and prove to you who I am. That's not really what's going on here. That's kind of my point, I think. Like, he's going, ain't no thing. Don't worry. So it's kind of like a dramatic effect, almost like a Streisand effect in a way. He's like, nah, it's no big deal. So to make everybody go, yeah, but it kind of is. I don't know. I don't know. Would it have been just too on the nose to write it that way? Anyway. No demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking among the Japhethites and the Hamites. Shemite Abraham, father, the covenanted nation of postmenopausal baby Isaac, and of Ishmael, another great nation of the east. So how do humans follow let's see. I keep carrying around this no demonic half-breeds. And where that came from is we were looking at all obvious or stated law so far. That's why I'm carrying that around. It's been clearly stated that God's got displeasure at demonic half-breeds because he floods the earth because of it. When they pop out, he's like, all right, no murder. It's like an institutional rule now. Instead of handling everything case by case, he's like, all right, you're going to be humans now. You were humans before, but I walked among you and all this other stuff. But now you're going to basically need kind of this institution, no murder. And he also says no blood drinking. Those are like the only two things that I've noticed in the text. But now I'm sitting here thinking, this is just random, but it's when it occurred to me. How do you enforce the rule of no human demonic half-breeds? Like, how do you stop a demon from, like, they're pretty powerful, I would think. Do you have to, like, kill the mom? Like, how do they do that? But it is clearly, I'm just saying it's a rule. I'm turning it into a rule, I guess. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a rule. He flooded the earth because of it. All right, so in 15, there's one new word, kakash. It's to disappoint, deceive, or fail, or grow lean. So, like, you'd be disappointed in a lean cow, for example. I know I would. Here in Texas, that wouldn't be tasty. 22 examples in the Old Testament. To deny is really kind of a definition. Usually knowing if it's actually true. You're like, no, it's a creepy word. It can also mean to submit, but not really mean it. To kind of like kowtow, but you're looking for your chance. So I think she's losing the battle, but mumbling about being secretly right. She's like, I didn't say that. This matches the context and the 22 usages. It's a real childish state, it looks like. So she said she didn't laugh, thinking she'd get busted for it. And Ahiah's like, you did laugh. So there's a parent-child thing going on here. Let's look at verse 16. Classical Chick says, Sarah and I share being the brunt of God's hunor, I think humor. Yes, God decides when you conceive. True statement. I have used science to help God decide when we conceive. There's one new word here, shakaf. It's to overhang, look out, or down. There's 22 examples. It's pretty straightforward. They got up from chilling and looked down at the view of Sodom, and Abraham also got up to give them a send-off. So, no demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and the Hamites, Shemite Abraham fathered the covenanted nation of post-menopausal baby Isaac, and through Ishmael, another great nation of the east. In proximity of Abraham, Ahiah considered Sodom. And then verse 17. Ahiah quietly considered Sodom. He's like, should I tell Abraham? I'm going to hide it. So let's go to verse 18. Atsum, mighty numerous, 31 examples in the Old Testament. It usually means mighty. How would a nation be mighty? Number, right? Probably. That's what it seems to imply here. That could be successful. Because Abraham will definitely become a great mighty nation, and all the earth's nations will be blessed in him, this verse says. So Ahiah kept his Sodom plans from Abraham because Abraham was going to be the founder of the nation that will bless all nations. It says here. All right, verse 19. Got 3 more verses to go, then we crack open the panel. I'm running a little bit late, panel. Please forgive me. Mishpat, judgment. 420 examples in the Old Testament. Usually means a justice or an ordinance. It's often a judgment with a sense of a legal system. So the law is starting to float into the text. You know, reading just from front forward, you know, from page 1 on, we're starting to get that peak of that law. So summarizing this verse, because I've gotten to know him, so he can tell his descendants in his house to keep Ahiah's righteous and just ways, so that Ahiah promised. So what Ahiah promised can happen. Is that really what this says? Yeah. For I've known him in order that he may command his children and his household. So he's kind of like trying to not show the rough justice plans, right? Just yet. He's like, let him have the easy road. Let's see. The Christian Standard Bible says, this is the way God gives the blessing. So actually following justice is the blessing. I don't know where I found that. It gets complex here, according to my notes. Lots of people tracking. Oh, so you got your conditional and your unconditional in terms of covenants. I'm also trying to watch for that. In context, I think this is part of the whether or not Israel will be a blessing to the world, not whether or not it'll be great. But I can't say there wouldn't be some controversy around that. So, in other words, he's made his promise. You're going to be a blessing to the world. But will you be great and stay that way? You know, I got to make room for the church replacing Israel or being grafted onto Israel. Boy, I just started a controversy there, didn't I? The old replacement theology argument. All right, verse 20. There's one new word here, ze'akah, to cry or an outcry. 19 examples in the Old Testament. It's a sense of distress. Ahiah said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very great. So our story so far is, all right, classical chick. Hey, let me play you off, classical chick. Let's get that going here. Where is it? Nope. There goes into lurk mode. The one, the only, the underscore, classical chick. Rev said we're in Pangea. Hey, it's TSR, man. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. All right, so our story so far, no demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and the Hamites, Shemite Abraham fathered the covenanted nation with post-menopausal baby Isaac, and through Ishmael, another great nation to the east. In proximity of Abraham, Ahiah kept his plan for notoriously sinful Sodom and Gomorrah from Abraham, who was going to be the founder of the nation that will bless all nations, if they followed justice. Kind of summarize that against my own argument. Oh well, it'll clean itself up as we go. Verse 21, last verse of the night. There's two new words here. Tze'akah. Didn't I already say that? Oh, it comes from tzak. So it's slightly different, but it comes from that. And kala, completion, complete destruction, consumption, or annihilation. There's 21 examples in the Old Testament. It comes from kala, which is a verb meaning complete. We already saw that. It's just the noun, the noun version of the verb. So here in this verse, he says, I'll go down and see if the outcry against the evil that has reached me is true. And if it's not true, I'll know. All right, so I'm going to put it all together, and then a couple notes, and then we'll start our panel. No demonic half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Among the Japhethites and the Hamites, Shemite Abraham fathered the covenanted nation of post-menopausal baby Isaac, and through Ishmael, another great nation to the east. In proximity of Abraham, Ahiah kept his plan, if the rumors were proven, for notoriously sinful Sodom and Gomorrah from Abraham, who was going to be the founder of the nation that will bless all nations if they followed justice. In the next verse, which we're not going to cover tonight, we're going to see the difference between these three dudes. So next week, we're going to look at the difference between these three dudes and God. This anthropomorphism of God, did he need to actually go check? Is this a pre-incarnate Jesus amongst this crew? Is this a messenger doing God's bidding? Is this, even though God knows it's true, it's still cosmically correct to have it witnessed in some way? Is he giving them a chance as he comes near to at least pretend to acknowledge that they're wrong? Is this entirely for the reader's benefit? I want to share with you all this stack exchange because I started digging around. You know, you always like to see what other people think, right? Let me put this in the chat. If, right, exactly. The conditional and the unconditional covenants have to be mapped out carefully, classical chick. So from that link, it says justice and judgment require a true witness. I think I'm reading from that link. My notes say I am. In the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every matter be established. That's Deuteronomy 19:15. In order to try to judge with unprecedented immediacy and such irrevocable consequences, God manifestly observes, angelically, the true state of matters in two visible witnesses. So notice here there's 3 men, but later there's 2 angels. You'll see in next week. That very observation precipitates a state of affairs, the event of crowd gathering and assault and threat, that justifies the shocking conflagration that follows upon the cities of the plain. Another thought is, often, but not all the time, does these things to demonstrate the weakness of mankind. Now I'm going to add, this is my notes now, this visit of God, this form of God, is not really the heavenly throne sitting, not, I don't know what I'm saying here. It's a messenger visitor type. And so it's a form of a visit from the invisible God to the visible world. Can that happen? Can someone represent God as an embodied creature ever? It's the whole entire holy being entirely other versus being present, because we know God can be present anywhere he wants. He's present everywhere, but he's also entirely other. We'll ponder that for the rest of eternity. All right, let me get our panel kick-started. How will we do it? Let me get a link kick-started. Jitsi. Gonna start a new meeting. It always seems to work better if I start a new one. Let me first kill that. If TSR Man is still there, you are 100,000% welcome. I'm going to put this up here. That's the meeting location. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Black Yoda.
What's going on?
Hey, my man. I guess the crickets are back out.
Ah, shit. Like, I heard them, but I wasn't really listening and thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. P-Thaggy, what do you know?
So, I don't have a lot on what you were reading just now, other than the fact that it really sounds like there's an underlying reason for Sarah to have this kid. Now, I get the whole descendant thing and whatnot, but it's like God is preparing them for what's about to go down in Sodom and Gomorrah. Because at this point, they don't quite know. He's about to smite the shit out of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
You know, so next week, you know, Abraham is going to ask him, like, hey, what about the good people? You know?
Right.
Because he knows, you know, Lot is going to be in them neck of the woods. You know?
Right.
So I'm more curious about why the warning.
Ooh, yeah.
You know? I mean, the link that you shared, I'm curious to see how, you know, how they present the question of why did God need to, like, check in for himself, you know, with the angels and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Right. Why does he have to go check it?
I mean, I guess you could make the argument 2 heads are better than one, maybe have a second opinion kind of thing. Right. And if that's the case, I'll be a little pissed off if some people try to, you know, F me in the ass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I ain't going to have a good report.
Right. Right.
I'm going to have some words. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Man. How's your week?
That's pretty good. Thanks for asking. It's yeah, I took a little 1 hour nap before the show a couple hours ago.
Oh man, I was supposed to. Last week I made preparations to switch my service provider to one that can handle, the
Yeah.
better internet connection, right? And they told me a tech was going to come out, and I was up all night. And my roommate was like, "Well, you can't go to sleep because you don't know when the tech is going to show up." And I'm like, "Damn!" And my room is all the way in the back, right?
Right.
So I'm up all day until about almost 2 o'clock. And I'm like, where is this guy? So I call, and to make a long story short, she basically tells me, "Oh, you just got to go to the Cox store and pick up the equipment."
Oh,
And I'm like, man, y'all didn't tell me that. You know what I mean? Like,
so incompetent.
uh,
Well, I don't want to get off topic, but let me tell you, if I was that incompetent in any job I've ever had, I'd be out that day. And yet these cable companies, this is just a running joke for decades. It's just how they are.
and then, I hate the fact that they like, all right, so I've had Cox before in the past, but that was like a couple decades ago, right?
Yeah.
All they need is one plan. Why do you have this? You got three different tiers. Each one has a different speed. Why don't you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
because remember back in the day, they used to charge you for long distance calls,
Mm-hmm.
and now look, you can call whoever, and there ain't no charge, there ain't no. I remember when they were charging people for text messages, depending on how many characters you used and whatnot.
Yeah. So you make me think of something, again, off topic, but I'm going to do it anyway. First of all, I got to read what the Texan said. Sodom and Gomorrah ain't got nothing on America today. That's a very good point, brother. Also, Revo Deutsche is talking about, he says what essentially the two angels are doing is like the old trust but verify.
Right.
But, you remind me of when we used to, back in the 70s, we would drive 5 hours across the state of Texas and only get like a third of the way across. And to let your family know that you got home after a visit, you'd call them and let it ring once. They wouldn't answer. Then they would call back and let it ring twice, and you wouldn't answer. And that's how you'd say, "Got here," and instead of paying the $2 to pick up a long distance call,
Wait, or the other way was they would give you a chance to say your name of who was doing the long distance call.
That's if you call it, collect or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you were fast with it,
Yeah.
you could get your point across, and then
Right.
they could understand you and just deny the call.
Right.
Yeah, I remember all that tricky nonsense.
Well, and that's how we know humans are going to beat the system. But let me bring in Pete Aggie. Can you hit us with an intro?
What's up, boys?
It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, I missed the digs.
Well,
How's it going, Thaggy?
Yeah, it's going. We're hanging on. We're hanging on as best we can.
right.
Yeah.
I think.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to elaborate a little bit on the Texan. I really dig how Putin is really standing firm. And in one of his speeches, he was bringing up the fact that people need to go back to the Bible.
Yep.
And he was kind of putting America on blast.
Yep.
With all this woke nonsense and the thing about the trannies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
If they want war, bring it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean Putin. I mean, that whole LGB alphabet soup shit. You know what I mean?
Right. So
because real
Oh.
quick, because he's right. I mean, compared to a lot of other countries, America is like another version of Sodom and Gomorrah. and it's everywhere. And they mock God on almost every program you can find. You know, I'll leave it at that.
Texan says those two angels were ready to roll thunder, but they were restrained.
I wouldn't be surprised if they helped God send the fire and brimstone after what they went through.
They're like, "Can I have some of the shots? Let me take one of the shots."
Yeah.
I'm curious, Thaggy. I just want to walk right into the difficulty, or at least apparent difficulty. Why does an all-present, all-powerful God, and we just talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to know if you wanted to jump in a little, have to go down and see it for himself? Any concepts on that?
Well, are you getting ahead of us? Or you see what for himself?
Or no, just to go witness. Like, so in this section that we're studying tonight, God and his two pals, or whatever that glom of people is, says, let's go see if it's really as bad as it sounds. Like, why would Ahia need to do that? Because he's in that group.
He is, yeah.
Or is it the other two?
I mean, I'm the skeptic. I don't think that Hashem is all-knowing, actually.
Right. That's why I'm bringing you into this, because I wanted to, I guess, get some show content rolling.
Well, if I had to smite my son, I wouldn't want to. I would want a second opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just a demonstration of good judgment. Like, I'm going through the motions. I'm going to I'm going to show you that I'm watching and I'm evaluating, and you didn't pass the test. So don't say I did this swiftly. Don't say I did it without due diligence. So maybe it was just that. I don't know. But
yeah,
honestly,
that's a good steal, man. I appreciate that.
Personally, I don't think he is omniscient.
Right. No, I know. Yeah, that's a difference of approach that you and I have.
Hey,
Two
theology,
Rivers.
Yeah.
Two Rivers is saying good night. Texan says, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. I do have some notes from whenever I'm around, everyone's like, oh, I know I'm going off topic. It's like I have this influence. I'm like, you better not.
Well, yeah. I don't want to go off topic when Pete Thaggy's around. You're right.
Well, so for me, I was reading some commentary. I found a really excellent book, and I can't find it now. It's funny how you search something from work versus home, and you get a completely different lineup. You get a completely.
It's like you work in China.
Yeah, but I found a good commentary because I really wanted to know more about this covenant. I was like, what do we really know about the covenant?
Right.
Because he had the covenant before he was circumcised, right?
Mm-hmm.
The author points out that Abraham was not a Jew, and this is something that people really have to wrap their heads around. Abraham was not a Jew. I mean, he was a descendant of Eber,
right?
But when we think of Jews, we think of the law. We think of the Sabbath and all the other.
Yeah, we don't have that yet in the story here.
Right, and we don't even know if there was like certain prohibitions of pork and other dietary laws that he was following. All we know is the Bible says that Abraham kept the Lord's commandments and was upright and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But it's just another example of how little we know and how much the Bible is withholding from us.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that this author put it, he was saying that with Abraham, you don't have the laws. You don't have even a Hebrew language. He's speaking some kind of Chaldean, Akkadian derivative. This is before, I think Duffy could back us up. This is even before Proto-Cyrillic. So it's like, he's not speaking Hebrew. Nothing in Hebrew was written down. There's no laws. We don't even know if he's keeping the Sabbath. He might, but the Bible makes no mention of it. All we know is that he has this covenant. Then you get to the Moses story, and it's the complete opposite. There's a priesthood, there's frickin' laws, and that's sort of what we understand today as defining Judaism.
Right. But it gets established by, from the mountain screaming, right?
Yeah, but I wonder how it hits people's ears when I say Abraham was not a Jew.
Right.
You realize he wasn't even circumcised till he was 99 years old.
Right.
Can,
So
can I
at
ask you?
best, yeah,
Can I ask you to look up something? And
sure.
because this reminds me of something I was reading not too long ago, and I'm trying to remember what verse it is. Can you
While
look
you're
up?
remembering that, let me real quick say Rev says $40, 5 years of phone with long distance. It's a train wreck, can't look away. I should have read those sooner because I don't know the context anymore. Sorry, go ahead.
Can you look up if this is a verse? 1 Jeremiah 18:22, maybe. It should be in my phone history, but I don't want to have to back out and come back in. And I just thought it was odd that Faggy brought that up. And I was just reading something.
What's the verse? Jeremiah what?
I think it's 1 Jeremiah 18:22, but I got so many in my head, I could be
No.
mixing it up.
Let a cry be heard
Um,
from their houses. Dug a pit.
no. Here, let me
Maybe
see
Jeremiah
if there's a way.
1:18.
Here, let me check my phone history. I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, it collapsed. That is awesome.
Let me read what the Texan said. You know America's screwed when Uganda and Russia put our leaders in their place about morality. The best you can say, yeah.
It's Jeremiah 9:25.
Okay. Jeremiah 9.
I think 18:22 had to do with a different chapter or
The days are
different.
coming. I'll punish those who are circumcised yet uncircumcised. That means on the outside they look circumcised, but they're not really
in the heart.
Righteous. Yeah, exactly. Egypt and Judah and Edom and the sons of Ammon and Moab and all those inhabiting the desert who clip the hair on their temples. For all the nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised of heart.
But doesn't that link back to what we just read, where everyone in Abraham's household that he owned, or they say bought with money,
right?
They were also circumcised. Yes. and you know they were not Jewish.
Right.
Did they become Jewish because of this covenant? Did they become Jewish? I don't think so.
Well, that's a very good point. So Abraham, eventually you get to the 12 tribes who all move into Egypt. So Joseph becomes the court Jew. Well, they're not Jews yet, right?
He's a prime minister, let's say.
But it still seems like that pattern of a court Jew, right?
Well, to what you said, Thaggy, God did make that promise to Abraham that even if you bring in servants, my promise is, going to be kept with them too. If they, like that Jeremiah passage, you can be circumcised and still not have the heart. But basically, if his servants make that commitment, then they have that circumcision at heart, is what I'm saying. And according to what God said, his promise applies to them too. So that makes me reevaluate the whole conversion thing.
Well, as a matter of theology, though, I mean, for most of history, Europeans did not get circumcised, and they still don't to this day. Right. The reason we do it here in the U.S. is for some alleged purported health reason or something. It's like considered healthier. I think in Europe they just sort of make a decision. But when Christianity came to the Gentiles, when God's promise and His covenant came to the Gentiles, it was a complete rewriting of the law. There was no circumcision and all the Mosaic laws. I can't even.
Well, let
So,
me bring
so
up
you
the
have
dark
to.
side of humanity. Like, after learning about how real these Luciferians are and
Well,
these
hold on
Satanists,
before you leapfrog to another topic.
no, this is the same topic.
Just thinking about what you said. Do you believe that simply by being circumcised because your parents thought it was healthy or something, does that necessarily bring you into God's covenant?
No, it even said in Jeremiah there that Yoda brought up. It says, "I'll punish you if you're outwardly circumcised but not inwardly."
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But what I was gonna just point out is I have a question, and this applies to the whole circumcision thing. After learning about what these Luciferians are about, I can't help but wonder what are they doing with that skin that they cut
I
off
know.
afterward.
Well, you've seen the Ellen
No,
DeGeneres
that's a real
show.
question. I'm not even trying to be funny.
No, but you've seen Ellen.
I never thought about it. It's funny because I've never thought about it.
Well, have you guys seen
What
Ellen DeGeneres doing a shame ritual against Sandra Bullock?
Oh yeah. With the
She
I
makeup.
has,
haven't.
yeah. So Thaggy, what she does is on the show.
What, they
She
grind it up
talks.
and put it in your lipstick?
Yeah,
What
I
do
don't
do
think they
with
actually
this
do it
stuff?
on the show. They actually do it to Steve Harvey on another episode of one of the other shows. He actually puts like some kind of face cream on, and then they tell him it's got circumcision bits in it. And he doesn't act that well in this particular episode, but he acts shocked. That's for sure a humiliation ritual that he did that on TV.
But he is an actor. Was he merely acting shocked? Did he have foreknowledge?
Yeah, I think he acted poorly. So to me, he was in on it.
Okay.
I have heard some bad things about Steve Harvey,
Yeah, unfortunately.
and it's unfortunate because I liked him.
Yeah.
But no, they are part of something wicked.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, I would have never thought what I've learned now, and I'm just like, wow. So like, if I do watch TV, I'll watch something like off of YouTube. If you guys have Roku, download an app called the Barrel. It's either the Barrow or Barrow, like Rabbit Barrow.
Yeah.
And it actually has a rabbit logo. They have a lot of conspiracy stuff on there that got censored on all kinds of other platforms, right?
Right.
I can't watch these people anymore. I just can't.
Agreed. There's no appetite to watch broadcast TV.
But no, is anybody in the chat making any comments about what they might be doing with that foreskin?
Texan says Europeans can't even get decent teeth. Circumcision is a health issue. The Bible was right. Harvey looks like he's wearing a rubber mask. I have to agree, impeach them all. And Doc Holliday's in the house.
Okay.
So I have a tangent here from the text.
Yeah.
Just sort of my notes. The first part where Abraham wants to feed them and wash their feet and have them relax and take in some food. And he goes into the tent and he says to Sarah, hey, I need you to take up this amount of flour and make this bread, this flatbread or whatever,
Right.
to make wraps, to make lamb wraps. We're going to make some wraps because people love them.
Yeah.
People love your wraps, Sarah.
Yeah, she's known for them. Yeah.
So, but the unit of measure is called a seah, which apparently is something like 16 pounds.
Really?
Imagine 16 pounds of flour divided for 3 people.
This is some hungry people.
God.
Well, you see where I'm going?
Yeah, of course I do.
I'm still on this tip, man.
I love it.
On this tip.
I love it. They're huge.
These are gigantic people.
They're 70 feet tall, at least.
So
Like, they need an entire animal. They need an entire lamb or whatever they're eating.
Yep.
They need the whole thing. The whole thing's going to get eaten, and they need 16 pounds of flour. I mean,
Yep.
It's hard for me to eat a 1 pound burrito. These guys must have been right.
Yeah, that's
Think about
really
how
good
gigantic
point.
these people are.
That's a really good point.
Wait, what part? What part is this talking about? That?
Last week, the amount of food, it's an entire lamb for
Oh, I
basically
missed
4
that. I
people.
came in late. Oh man.
So it's
I
an
gotta get
entire
that.
lamb. Maybe 5 people are eating if they let Sarah, have some scraps on the side.
Right.
And it's like a bag of flour, like you're saying.
It's like a sack. It's a whole burlap sack full of flour.
Right. I'm glad you
I
brought
mean,
that up.
Damn.
have you guys ever made pancakes from scratch
Mm-hmm.
and make too much batter?
Yep.
And even then, that is a lot of extra
Yes.
pancakes.
It is.
Wow.
I'm glad you brought this up because my mind's been rolling over. Once you see it, it's really hard not to see it everywhere. I think
Yeah.
the text goes out of its way to say he takes a young goat or a young lamb or whatever and has it prepped by a young man. Like, it goes way out of its way to make sure you realize both are young. Always hinting at just a little dash of cannibalism.
Wait. Can you elaborate on that?
Much like once you hear that the bricks are making the Tower of Babel with bricks, in other words, these are just replaceable cogs, these drones, these people, that, once you see that often what the person's doing is them. So in other words, the young lad making the burgers or processing the goat or the lamb, it just goes out of its way to draw a similarity between humans and cattle over and over again. And once you see that,
how did cannibalism come into him prepping the goat?
well, human and cattle, what are we used for? What do they eat from us? Is it our labor? We're chattel.
I've always thought that we shouldn't be eating meat. And
Right.
it was always in my head that by doing that crossover is just one step away from cannibalism in itself. And we already know these Luciferians and these Satanists, they're about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually, I have a note on that one too from last week. You were wondering about the word chattel.
Yeah.
I didn't call in because as soon as the panel started, it instantly went off topic. I mean,
Yes.
instantly.
No, I know.
So there was no point. But here's the thing: the word chattel means property. So the word chattel came before the word cattle. It always referred to your property.
Interesting.
I mean, for
It
me,
says here, 13th century chattel or chattel, property or goods from Old French chattel or chattels, goods and possessions, wealth, property, and also cattle. Probably
actually,
your most important,
when you go into a Black's Law dictionary and you look up like person and human and things of that nature, it pretty much refers to us as slaves and like a type of chattel. Like these words, when we're in court, they don't mean what we think they mean.
So what are the odds that I used to work at a company where the VP of HR, her name was literally, I kid you not, Chattel Lynch. Like, you
that's
can't make
either creepy or
Super coincidental.
unfortunate coincidence.
that. Right.
I could see if her parents had a sense of humor. Wow.
Duppy's pointing out there's a position in the old Pharaoh court, overseer of cattle.
Yeah.
You load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. That's the Texan bringing that in. Rev says check your DMs, by the way, Yoda.
Oh, I will do that after the show.
Nice.
So what else? I got another note. Probably
Let me
also
go
from
refill my coffee. I'll be right back.
The Texan. I'm not trying to create. So The Texan is pointing out that we are sheep in the flock. Totally agree, and I'm comfortable to be one of his sheep, right? I know my sheep and my sheep know me, he says. I will follow him wherever he says, right? But I do think there's a strain, and I'm not trying to turn the entire Bible into a ghost story, but I think the controllers, which is the environment that the Bible gets extracted out of with God's supervision, these Kabbalists, they really want to think of us as some kind of livestock, I think is my main point.
Absolutely.
It's out of that environment that God pulls his people. Yeah.
However, if you think that the text is somehow flirting with this notion, you have to go back to your summary. You always say, no eating of human flesh, no this, no that. But one of them is you don't eat human flesh.
Yeah, I haven't seen where that's called out in any of the text I've read. So I've got 3 laws so far: no demonic half-breeds, no blood drinking, and no murder.
Oh, well, I assume with no blood drinking, that means you can't eat human flesh. But maybe
Well,
that's just
they don't
sound great, just the blood of anything.
Right. It means drain the meat before you cook it.
Oh, that's what it means. Okay. All right. Well, never mind.
I just summarized it that way for quick.
Well, because the cannibalism thing is going to come up later. So
Absolutely.
It's definitely on the menu.
Well done. Well done. I was sitting here. I want to be highly respectful of the word of God, of all that. So the Texans keeping me straight here. Don't want to get too crazy with it.
Let me get crazy. Here's another
please
one.
do.
Something that we overlooked. Sarai. Remember Sarai? The hottest, the most beautiful woman in like a 3,000-mile radius.
Absolutely.
Somehow everyone's heard of her. Everyone's like, hey, yo, is Sarah around? Can I see her?
Right.
You know what I mean? This constantly comes up.
Right.
Well, and she's barren.
Right.
She's the hottest wife you could have, and she'll never get pregnant.
That's
like,
dramatic irony.
You know where I'm going. It's like, is this folklore? Is this just folklore? You're telling me you're married to the hottest, most beautiful woman that Pharaoh and all the great kings want, and she can't even get pregnant. She'll never.
It's archetypal, right? It's an extreme.
I'm saying there's something there. There's something to it.
Well, it can be both archetypal and a great metaphor, but also literally true. Like, I don't see the need for exclusivity.
I don't either, but it's something to wonder about.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, like Jesus' resurrection, you could sit there and go, oh, he's symbolically, he's alive as we don't forget him or whatever, but he also may have come back from the dead. Like, it could be that, you're supposed to be inspired, but also it happened.
Okay, but back to the point. So we go to her her pregnancy, right? So she was past childbearing age, as we're told. Now, when God, because this is, I think, maybe at least the third, if not more. This is the third time the covenant has been discussed in Genesis, right?
I think it's about the third time, yeah.
It's come up before.
Yeah.
So we all know what the covenant is. We all know he's going to father a great nation, but he doesn't have any kids yet. So Sarai, after things were not happening, she says to Hagar, okay, you lay with them. Maybe the great nation comes from you, right? That was her first move. And what does the Bible say? It says that Abraham agreed. It's like, okay, well, I'm sure that was a really tough decision, right?
Right.
So he agrees. He acquiesces. He's like, yes, honey. And Hagar conceives. But in this chapter, the Lord says to him, I'm going to come back in 1 year, and she's going to have a son.
Right.
So then the question is, well, am I supposed to sleep with her? Is this going to be another one of those immaculate conceptions? Like, because that's in the playbook. Right. Like, what do you? Yeah. What am I going to sleep? Are you going to sleep with her?
Well, but I agree with what you're saying, but they do kind of all say, are we going to have the manly, womanly way? Like, they use all kinds of language around the act. Right. When they're thinking and joking and saying, no, I didn't mean that. And he's like, no, you meant that. You know what I mean? Like that one word. Let me go back to it if I could.
You called it a methodology, the womanly methodology. I'm like,
Yes.
whoa, what a way to like not even touch the subject.
Well, but that's the word that's used though. So here it's
But
like
that's like swerving. That's like swerving 4 lanes over and then coming back.
no, but let's see. Is anything too difficult? Shall I actually? Oh, where is it?
Well, keep in mind, we were joking about the fact that Sarai might have thought she wasn't the one that was infertile, that Abraham might have been. And then when Hagar actually got pregnant, she was a little pissy.
Yeah, once that came up, I haven't been able to let that go.
So at this point, is she still smoking hot, even though she's old?
Yeah, I mean, I think
we
so.
don't really know.
I don't see any counter to that. Texan comes in with, God has his flock, so does Satan. Satan mirrors everything God does. So I think we're getting into some common ground there, kind of with what I was trying to say. I think well put, Texan.
Wait,
Word of God was written by man. Take that any way you want. Superintended by Yahweh, I would say.
So could that apply to the meat thing that we were just talking about versus cannibalism? I guess that's what I was talking about. If they're being cannibalistic, would the mirror reflection of that be regular people eating animals? It was just a thought because of his question or his statement.
Yeah, we got Duppy in. Let me say that again, Yoda. Sorry, I was distracted on word orach.
We know about duality being a thing, and we know about Luciferians doing some cannibalistic stuff.
Right.
So would the mirror side of that be regular people eating meat? Like,
maybe, but
because I could point out a lot of parts about, like, say Leviticus, for instance, where he's very specific about us eating herbs and nuts and seeds, and at one point he says that will be your meat.
I look at it as that custom, I guess if you call it that, is more about valuing life. Whereas the flip side, the Luciferians don't value it. Because then you don't have to kind of think about wait, one's animals, one's human, and all that stuff.
I will say this much, people.
Yep.
I do miss hot wings. I'm not gonna lie. I am not
Mango
gonna lie.
habanero.
I don't know if they got Buffalo Wild Wings where you guys live, but they're blazing. Oh my God.
So Yoda, answer me this. Why the heck do they have to serve hot wings with celery of all things?
I never quite understood that, but I like celery. Oh, you're the one that doesn't like celery.
Right.
I forgot about that.
I'll tell you why.
Doesn't like is two kind of words.
There is actually a reason for it, though. It's to clear your palate.
Yeah, good point.
It's the same reason why with Mexican food you eat radishes. It's that way. Once you take the celery, which is mostly water, and some ranch, you completely change the palate. So when you eat the next wing, you're like biting into it for the first time.
You get
that would destroy my palate.
You get a fresh hit.
All right, so I gotta pull something out of the toaster oven for my roommate. I'll be right back.
Thaggy, I put in the chat the study light for 734. It does a good job of breaking down the two pictographs, and it shows how it's the way or the path, but it's a fruitful path. It's like a cultivating path.
So what? The path of womanhood?
Yeah, like
what's the meaning here? The path of womanhood.
The way of living a traveler. It really means.
It says figuratively the passing of life from host to whatever, from
Mhm.
from the progenitor, from the
Right. That's a
parent
very
to the
good catch.
offspring.
Yeah, good catch.
Okay. All right. Sure.
It's a good catch.
So all right. So they're not really mincing words. They definitely mean that she's past childbearing age.
Right.
There's no metaphor. That's what they're saying.
Right.
But then I was saying,
So then it
you
was a
know,
miracle that she eventually gave birth.
Right. But did they do the nasty?
well, that's my question. Is like they don't even address it. It's like another one of those things. Like Abraham must have been scratching his head. And he's like, oh, I
But
better
then
not get
later
this
she
wrong.
says, "Will I have pleasure? Will I have the delicacies?" Now that could mean the delicacies of carrying a baby, or
I
it could be
know,
the
but he
delicacies of a night in a tent.
he just got his foreskin cut off. He's not eager to get a raging boner. That shit probably would have peeled off all the scar tissue. Would have hurt. He's probably like, hands in his pockets, looking down at his feet. He's like, so like,
There might have
does
been a year past. A
He's
year
like,
may have passed.
are you stepping in? Is this going to be another one of those miracles? It's like,
Right. Well, and I'm glad you're bringing that up, because he says the word he uses, he's like, is that too hard for me? So he's like, don't be surprised. He's like, it's not that big of a deal. Meaning God. God's,
right, yeah.
You heard my treatise on that probably earlier before the panel. Like, it's this weird sort of like, diminishing to almost highlight it.
Well, that's definitely a theme. When I was digging today at work on this chapter, there's a lot of debate about whether it's okay to question God. Like, how big of a deal was it for Sarah to laugh? Because in some readings, they say, oh no, even though she immediately denied it, she had this whole cover story. In other texts, she's like, no, I laughed because out of joy, and everyone that I tell will laugh with me in joyful exuberance, like I'm going to have a baby. She tried to come up with this elaborate cover story, but God already knew her heart. And he was like,
Right.
no, you laugh because you were incredulous.
Right.
You still don't get it. You think you still don't get it.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. So you're basically saying that she, even though she know God is real and has been a part of their life, she's not, her heart isn't circumcised, from what we were saying earlier.
Right.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying earlier too, like these people are not Jewish, not in the sense that you understand them. Like this is some kind of origin story. They're not even really Jewish yet, and there's not even a Hebrew language. So it's like you got to really ask yourself: is this literal history or is this folklore?
Wait, so what were they speaking?
Like some Akkadian dialect? They came from Chaldea.
Okay. Because I never
And
really
even the
thought about
Canaanites,
what they
even the
spoke.
Canaanites, they spoke Amorite languages, which was another derivative of Akkadian. They would have understood each other.
So what did
I
so
saw
what
a
did,
lecture, just a footnote. I saw a lecture on like the ancient languages of the Fertile Crescent and all this, the Near East.
right?
Most all of these languages were intelligible to one another. It's kind of like when Swedes talk to Danes. The Swedes think that the Danish sound funny, and the Danes think that the Swedes sound funny, but they know what the other person is saying.
Kind of like when we talk to people from England.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Yeah.
They were all speaking some Akkadian dialect.
Yeah, that's consistent with all the stuff I've dug into. That Akkadian was the dominant spoken and even for longer written language in the entire Middle East.
Do people still speak that, or is it like dead?
I think only academics do. So it died, but then the academics resurrected it for their own little circles.
Tonight, one night only, Shakespeare in Akkadian.
Shakespeare is already hard enough to understand.
Right, that's true.
And it's only because we don't understand the figures of speech, the slang of it.
Right.
Yeah.
They even had funky S's back then.
What was weird about the S?
And instead of it being what we're used to as an S, it was a big, huge thing that kind of looked like an integral symbol in math.
Oh. I'll have to look that one up.
Super tall.
Yeah. And skinny.
Man, I got to tell you, it's springtime. The crickets are out.
Oh, yeah, they want to get some play.
I know, Yoda. You have a cricket in your garage.
I could go over there and stomp in the corner, but I have 2 garbage cans over there. One is for like regular, the other one is recycle.
Right.
Plus, you respect life and all that.
I store stuff on that side of the garage, so there's so many places he could be.
I wouldn't do that. It sounds like a really, really big cricket.
Yeah,
Dude,
it does.
I remember one time when I lived in East Mesa, I was in the garage, and a lot of times when I'd get home from work, because I was working second shift, so it'd be like nighttime, and there's this cricket, and I swear to God, he didn't have regular cricket legs. He had like plump frog legs. I am not joking.
I'll bet it was a potato bug. Ugliest looking bug in the world.
I don't know. Yeah. Please look that up, G. Ross, because I've never heard of this related to a cricket before.
Oh, the potato bug? No, it's different.
It's different,
but the body type is similar to a cricket.
Dude, it had
and it's bigger
frog legs. I am not joking. Yeah. And I was looking at it like, what the hell kind of steroids are you on? Like, and so I killed it, but I didn't smash it. And so the next day, my neighbor, Al, he's outside, and I was like, dude, you got to come look at this cricket. And like, that was the topic of conversation for like an hour, because we were like, why are the legs like that?
Well, I mean, a potato bug is also called a Jerusalem cricket, interestingly enough, but it's native to the Southwest.
A cricket of peace.
They're hideous looking though. They used to scare the crap out of us when we were kids.
Do they have like frog leg type legs?
Well, G-Ross, pull up a picture. Pull up a picture of a potato.
I can't even stand looking at it. Last time you made me do this, it was gross. Here it is on somebody's hand. Ugh.
Does it have frog legs?
Here, I'm gonna make you see it. Are you ready to see it, Yoda?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be nightmares. Hang on. Let's get this going. This is just gonna be horrible.
We used to catch all kinds of things when I was a kid living in LA, but those things, we didn't want anything to do with them.
Now the legs aren't as big as the one I'm talking about.
I can't even look.
I mean, this thing, imagine just a cricket, but then slap a pair of frog legs on them for the back legs.
We can probably watch Lurker.
They have kind of thick legs.
Ugh, I gotta stop. Ugh. Yeah, that's disgusting.
But I remember this time of year listening to like a replay, if I was on it. And I have to admit, I mean, yeah, they do sound loud in the replay. You know?
I get used to it, but we've had like 3-4 months off because of winter.
Yeah.
I'll get used to it and won't even notice it in a couple weeks.
Oh, I got a tip for you guys. I haven't tried it yet. I got a lot of plants on my front patio. So it's just a haven for mosquitoes to start to breed. And before they get started, I learned that they don't like lemongrass.
Mm.
And so because of the colder season that we're getting out of, I have a couple of pots that the plants didn't make it. And I plan on planting as much lemongrass as I can. Because y'all know me, I love hanging out on my front patio.
Mm-hmm.
But when the mosquitoes become a thing, oh my God, they are annoying. And I don't like using those chemical sprays, and
Right.
all the other repellents only do so much, like the incense and stuff like that. So just a note to everybody out there, lemongrass, grow some.
Impeach 'em all says, eat the bugs. Thaggy, any other notes?
Daggy.
No, that was it. No, that's
Those were fantastic notes. They highlighted awesome stuff and drew out anything I could have ever wanted to see. That was awesome. Duppy, what do you got?
I didn't bring anything with me.
Fair.
I was on the phone first half of the show and
Fair.
just decided it sounded like an interesting conversation and I'd join in.
Were you, I think you were in the chat when Thaggy found some pretty good evidence that the Giants are still roaming.
Oh, really?
So you got 3 people visiting, Abram and Sarah. They're probably not going to bring too many people in. So how many people are eating this meal? It's an entire lamb or goat or something, an entire creature, a young one, but still, and like 16 pounds of flour.
But did you eat it all?
So we think these are large people, or at least I do.
Does Stacey Abrams count?
No. I'll put it in there.
What was the flour for?
Oh, well,
They
also,
made pancakes, like super big
Right.
flapjacks or something.
Okay.
I assumed I assume it's more like flour tortillas, but
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point. These are probably shawarma wraps.
yeah, they're making wraps.
Yeah.
Because wraps are fucking delicious.
Right.
But but look at you know, we were talking about Acadia and the dialects and then the languages that were spoken then. Look at all this Akkadian iconography. Aren't the sort of superior beings like towering over humans? Aren't they like really big people? They're always portrayed as big. Maybe not just because of a symbolism of their grandeur or their status. What if they really were that much bigger than human beings?
Right. I mean, I think it's totally plausible.
Well, the pharaohs and the kings and whatnot were very often on the old stelas and carvings and whatever they did were often depicted as being about twice the size of everybody else. Whether that's symbolic or real, it's up for debate.
By the way, if we've covered most of the notes, which I think we probably have you guys ever heard of Dr. Narco Longo?
Yes, that's the guy that Red Pill has on his show sometimes.
Yeah. So he straight up says the Vikings and the Phoenicians' boats are the same.
He's not the only one.
Right.
There's a number of people who suggest that both illustrations of both often show red and white striped sails and high prows with, dragon heads or whatever on them. I even saw, another thing about the Phoenician boats is they were often depicted, even on coins from the time, as having a painted eyeball, kind of like the eye on the dollar bill.
Wow.
On the prow of the boat, like probably one on each side of the prow. And I ran across a while ago some illustration of a Viking boat. It was an illustration though, so it wasn't based on like a real image like a coin or something, but they put eyes on that as well in the same place, which I thought was very interesting.
Front and back or left and right? Port and stern?
Left and right on the prow.
Okay. So port and
starboard.
Stern. Yeah. Port and what's the opposite of port?
Starboard.
Impeach 'em all wonders if maybe they made dumplings. That would be tasty. Make some of your famous dumplings, Sarah.
I can't help but think that people were bigger and they lived longer back then. We already know the giants were big
Right.
because we have evidence all around the world that what people think are some weird mountain are actually like the tree stumps that Genesis used to talk about.
Tuppy.
Don't laugh.
So,
Yeah, well, the Viking mythology had a thing they called the world tree. It's called Yggdrasil.
right,
That was supposed to be, a big tree, like they had in that what was that awful movie Avatar.
right,
Same
right.
same kind of symbology. Um, but yeah, Devil's Tower wasn't one of them.
When you guys point out that there were 3 people and there were 16 pounds of flour,
Right.
that is a lot of dough.
Yes. I mean, maybe some other people joined in, but I felt like it was an intimate meal, but maybe a lot of the household joined. But I don't think so. It sounds private, right? Nobody talks besides the
I
visitors
mean,
and
even if
Abram and
you
Sarah.
hold on, there's a helicopter. Even if you had 6 people, that's still a lot of dough.
So we know that Abraham rolled deep. He had a large camp, but
Right.
that's why I'm saying once again, it's like the Bible's not super clear on who's eating this meal.
Right.
And if it was just for them, then it kind of suggests something. These
They
guys
were
had a
hungry.
large appetite, and I mean huge.
There's no indication that it was a Thanksgiving kind of thing where they invited a rival tribe for a peace treaty or something like that.
No, this was just a
Well,
visit.
also, if you want to dip back into the theology and stuff, you know how
Yeah.
the ancient Greeks said that the gods would always take a different form because
Right.
to see them in their true form, you would die. Like you couldn't be in their presence; you would just
Right.
instantly die.
Right.
So if we carry that over to this tradition, this narrative, this uh, credo, then I mean, would Abraham really want every one of his manservants and maidservants to be in the presence of God?
You bring up
I
a
don't
good
know.
point. And haven't we already seen by now? Somebody said, "I saw God." And didn't Hagar say, "I saw God
Well, no,
and lived"?
an angel came to her. But did this come up later?
No, I'm trying to remember who's the first person who says, "I've seen God and yet live." I think it was. I think we've already
Wasn't
seen
it
it in these first chapters.
Jacob? Was it Jacob?
No, we haven't hit Jacob yet. We're still on
Or was
Abraham.
it Enoch?
We haven't even done. Did we do Enoch yet? Yeah, we did Enoch.
Oh yeah. Because Enoch, remember, he walked with God.
Right.
Yeah, but he didn't eat with them.
Right. I can't remember
Well,
who the first.
we don't know, Yoda. We don't know. The Bible is very sparse with its details.
Wait,
Dude
wasn't there
knows.
something? It was something about an offering, right, G. Ross?
I'm
Like
trying to
in the
remember.
courtyard or something? I thought that was
Well,
Abraham.
there it was. There was many offerings that we were talking about Bethel and
Right.
in Beersheba and the various places where Abraham built altars. We were trying to parse through like what is the difference between Abraham's practice of his religion versus how it's practiced today. All we know is that sacrifice was a big part of it. But beyond that, we don't know even if he kept the Sabbath. That wasn't even addressed.
Mm.
Well, you know that the academic community is very strong on it actually being a polytheistic religion back then.
Oh, so that was a good reminder. So in one of these articles that I was reading today, you have to look at the difference between what Abraham is doing versus all the other Canaanites because they were pantheists, right? They had their god of choice or their like preferred god, but the
Mhm.
problem is they acknowledge the existence of the other ones. And this comes up later in the prophets too, right? In Baal and
I think that's called monolatry, when they have like one main god, but they acknowledge the existence of the other ones.
Right. So the whole idea of monotheism, you can split hairs because there's another word, and I might have this wrong, but you guys can correct me. It's like henism, henoism. It means basically like you believe in one God and you deny the existence of the others.
Right.
I can see that being a thing, the whole mono thing. But the Bible is pretty clear about God. He's very adamant about letting people know, hey, I'm a jealous God. Respect me. You know what I'm saying?
And if you don't, you get punished.
Right.
But the academics say that line of thinking came much later than Abraham, when this stuff was first written down.
Are these the same academics that said trust the science?
They're not scientists.
No, I'm just being funny.
Oh, by the way, I solved the riddle of the extra 12 pounds of flour.
Oh, no.
Elijah was really hungry that day.
Fair.
Ba-doom.
Good one. All right, cool. Any off-topic topics? We've got a little time.
Oh, don't even say that. It was going to happen no matter what. Now
Right.
you're inviting it? Okay.
Well, this is the most well-behaved Wednesday of all time, perhaps.
No, we've had some other on-topic,
We've had some pretty good ones, but this is up there.
Well, I feel guilty from last week still because I slid in late. I had some drinks and shit. And after a 2-week binge of that particular rabbit hole and to have Enrique slide in.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Dude, for me, that was perfect. And I had the nice amount of buzz to appreciate it. I couldn't have asked for a better conversation, me personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I forgot that was last week.
That was more,
I can't remember who. Yeah, there was some people in the chat. I think Miss 320 might have been one of them. I forget who all. Probably not Miss 320, but it was somebody like they were just like all they could hear was 3 people talking at once. It was hilarious.
Oh man, dude, I love that conversation because it's really important. It's important knowledge to know, people. It really is.
I've got my ruler in my hand. I'm tapping my palm gently. I'm looking for knuckles to smack.
No,
yeah, you can go off topic. That's fine.
Enrique just was a blast.
That reminds me, he DM'd me, and there was a question that I had for him, and I can't remember what it was. Oh man,
go back to the DM.
It had to do with It had to do with that topic, but it was a specific question. I'll think of it later because I got to go into my DMs for the Rev anyway.
Right.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
Isn't he supposed to be in Florida right now?
Yeah,
with,
he is.
Gould.
Impeach him all gives good warning. Heads on a swivel this weekend. That's a good point. Word on the street is they're going to get crazy.
I will bring up an off-topic one that's pretty relevant.
All right.
So Russia's already backed their money with gold. You have a lot of other countries that's in the process with the whole BRICS thing.
Yep.
What Mexico really caught my attention, I guess over the weekend, Mexico wants to become a part of the BRICS. And so, and right now you have a lot of African countries that are uniting. They want to be a part of the BRICS too, people. And keep in mind,
South America too.
Yeah. And this is why they killed Gaddafi. He was trying to unite Africa.
Right.
And have one dinar backed by, real value. Dude, I got things on Gaddafi that I didn't know about back then. What's up?
No, I'll wait till you're done with your Gaddafi plan. Which will be next?
Oh, like if you go down the list of things Gaddafi was trying to do for his people, like if you get married, they'll give you an apartment. You have a kid, they'll give you some money. They'll pay for you to go to school, and if you can't find a job, they will pay you as if you got one until you do. Like he was really all about the people and building everything up and just saying, screw everybody else. Let's focus on what we can do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So now, because of the BRICS, you have, especially because that vein of gold that they found in, what is that, Uganda or something like that? Like $3 trillion worth.
Mm-hmm.
So the dollar is, ooh-wee. They're going to have to come up with a new one and back it with gold and other, like GDP and whatever else. You know what I mean? They're not going to have a choice.
Well,
and if you see how much they're spending, it's like they're spending it on purpose because they know it's going to become frivolous later.
Right. Well, and also, try to help tank it. Pretty soon, we're going to have either CBDC or whatever it's called, or some kind
central
of good
bank
thing.
Digital currency.
Yeah. I think the go time of finding out whether Trump is in on it and pure evil is coming soon. Like, it's not going to be too long.
Yes.
Wanted to say a minute ago, when you were talking about Mexico, I heard a pundit, the body language reader that Sloan likes to air.
Is that a chick?
Yeah, she brought up a really good thing I hadn't thought of. Mexico joining BRICS could drive a wedge because the government might want to join BRICS because the cartels use a lot of U.S. dollars because they're CIA funded or, work closely with CIA.
The digital currency would make it hard for them to funnel money, though.
Right, but I'm just saying it might help defang some of this U.S. dollar that they're so used to working with. Like if you weaken the U.S. dollar, you weaken the CIA, the drug cartels. In other words, I wish I could say it how she said it.
So even if Mexico becomes part of the whole BRICS system, we still have that. What do they call it? USMCA that Trump did to replace NAFTA.
Oh yeah, I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, that's right. U.S., Mexico, Canada.
Mm-hmm. He had it right. USMCA.
So our dollar has no choice but to change, especially if the rest of the world is really pushing. And I think one of the last numbers I heard was like 40% of countries. Is that right?
I don't actually know.
I could be wrong, but I have investments that the more it goes in this direction, the more wealthier I'm going to become. So I'm not mad at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, what we're seeing is Five Eyes in NATO being isolated from the rest of the world financially like that. And that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt, but in the long run, it's probably a good thing.
I want to see NATO, the United Nations, I want to see all of that crumble and fall. What's the other one? The Council of Foreign Relations. I want to see all of that crumble and fall. But that's just my opinion,
I think everybody that's been paying attention in this community probably thinks the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, inside my mind, I've been kicking and screaming, going, "Don't take away my easy way of life, please don't." But every month that goes by, I'm like, I'm ready. I'm more ready. Yes, I bring the pain.
So our guy Enrique, that's what I wanted to talk to him about, the birth certificate, because there's X amount of money put into your birth certificate once you get one, and there's a way of pulling that money out, right? Part of this revalue of the currency is two parts to this question that I wanted to talk to him about. Are they using that money because we all got an account because
Right.
of the Social Security, right, and the birth
Right.
certificate. Have they pulled that money to back this new currency, or are we still able to extract that for ourselves individually? That's why what we
Right.
were talking about last week was so important.
Right. Do we need to go take a step to claim our coat from the coat room?
Yeah.
I keep thinking of the skit was about reparations, but do you remember the Chappelle show? I think it was the Chappelle show when they finally get reparations up in Harlem
And
or all around
everybody
the
had like
country.
SUVs and
Yeah, he's like,
fucking,
I bought this 18-wheeler full of cool cigarettes. That's what I'm going to do with my Nasara money.
you know, if that was actually becoming a thing, I'd be happy with a cabin in the woods with enough land to where I could grow my own shit,
Right.
with a proper climate to where I could have like an orchard,
Yeah.
apples, peaches, apricots, you know what I mean? Things of that nature.
Yeah.
I'd
I
still
know
be
what you mean.
connected.
But
What's
you
that?
could do that now.
I know what you mean. You're saying Abraham. We're going full Abraham. We're talking tents. We're talking cattle,
Yeah.
flocks, manservants. We're talking,
I don't know about the
pitching
servants
up
in the tents.
anywhere. But
I'm talking just simplicity.
I'm
I
talking
want to take it
chop
back
your
to.
dick off.
No, just the tip. Just the
I'm
tip.
going to
Oh,
Golden
just the tip.
Corral.
Well, I
Watch out for
keep in
Stacy.
mind, I had a forest for a backyard growing up in Michigan, and I miss it. Last time I went camping, we were up north here in Arizona, and there's a lot of pine trees and lakes up there, and it just rejuvenates your soul to be around that much nature. And if Nasara Jasara was a thing, or if it became a thing, I would make a cabin somewhere close to some water. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
just separate myself from city life. You know?
So Yoda, you
Yeah.
can do that. You don't need a lot of money
Oh, I
to do
know.
that. Yeah.
Trust me, I know. It just
I
make it a lot easier. You know?
yeah, I think about homesteading in the rural areas. We're in Frisco, which the Texan probably knows where that is. It's pretty dense nowadays, but it's still suburbs.
Hmm.
See down the road, the Texan. He's heading out. I could do pretty rural, but I want to be like within maybe 50 miles of a big city, probably.
I could understand that. I've already checked out a location in Colorado. That's at kind of the base of the mountain, and the cost of living is hella cheap. And the reason why I was looking at that location is because if you're close to some water and that close to the mountain, you know, take a trip hiking and see if you can pan for some gold and shit that might have got looked over. You know what I mean? To me, that would be fun. Take my dog, and to be able to have the ability to just go out there for a couple of weeks and just not give a F, be able to look up at the stars at night.
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, the more I hate city life.
Right.
It's too people-y. They
Right.
don't even like going to the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like the energy is funky and just,
I lived in Queens for 7 years. The thing was
ooh,
dense. I
I
enjoyed it,
couldn't
though.
imagine.
I enjoyed
I
it.
couldn't.
I was too young to know any better.
Nah, give me a lake and I'm good. Matter of fact, the last time we went camping, the friend that we went with, he has a boat, and we were out there fishing, and he kind of MacGyvered this tarp thing for the back half of the boat,
Yeah.
but I'm sitting in the front half, and him and my roommate were like, "Steve, you need to scoot back, or you're gonna get sunburnt." but I'm hard headed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not that it was hot, people. It's the reflection of light off of the water. Oh, and it got me good.
You got double whammied.
Oh my God, it got me good. But it wasn't until like a day later that you realize, yeah, I messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, yeah, it got me good. So we don't sunburn the way white people do. But when we do sunburn, it's just as uncomfortable, you know?
You need that aloe vera lotion.
I need coconut oil so I can sizzle with the program.
Oh, Namster says, I'm sorry. I'm like, why? He's like, you lived in Queens. I was in Astoria, though, which was a pretty nice part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't do New York.
It's
super
I
remember
crowded.
spending a weekend in the South Bronx and waking up wondering what planet I was on.
Yeah, South Bronx is definitely crazy. It's so crowded up there.
Dude, I've seen pictures of New York currently, and they're not that far off from what you see in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I haven't been in like 40. We used to go a lot. We'd even bring our kiddo, but ever since Scamdemic, I just can't go up there.
Oh, dude. So when you were reading earlier, somehow your vacation came up between me and my roommate.
Right.
And I was like, no, she was like, where did he go? And I was like, oh, they went to Disney. And she was like, why Disney? And I was like, look, we might know it one way, but that's not the kids' responsibility. Let them have fun.
Right.
That way, when they feel that dagger in their back later, it'll hurt more, you know?
Right. He's slowly finding his way. Like, I mean, he kind of know. Like, I have one brother that openly talks about the trafficking through those parts of the world, and stuff.
Right.
And so he hears him talk about it, and he hears that I just jump on board and joke and agree and make horrible, jokes and stuff. So he kind of knows, and so he'll ask. He's like, "Is this one of the parts where they kidnap the kids?" So I mean, but I just like it's all Reddit, right? But there's a ride called The Land where I'm pretty sure the kidnapping can happen.
So what caught my attention was because you stay around the Austin area, right? Or outside of the Austin area?
No, I'm north of Dallas, so a good 4-hour drive from there.
Oh, all right. Well, I looked it up from Austin.
Yeah.
Dude, I did not realize how far it is from there to Orlando.
Like 19-hour drive.
It's actually just a little longer than Phoenix to San Antonio. That blew my mind.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Now, Duppy was kidnapped on Haunted Mansion for sure.
No, I wasn't kidnapped.
Yeah, for sure.
But they scared the crap out of us.
Yeah. Oh, I never told you guys the story because Enrique Alvarado showed up and gave us 2 hours of brain dump. So when I was about 15, living out in California, my cousin came to visit. We hop on Haunted Mansion on a weekday. There was nobody there. There was nobody on, those cars you just walk right on, right? And there's no line. And so they're going around. And there's nobody in the car in front of us, nobody in the car behind us. And so we just hop out of the car in the middle of the ride and hop into the next car. And we're like, hee, hee, hee. And we're running back and forth. This is back in the day. There's no cameras. When we get back to the exit, the teen working there goes, I didn't load you into that car, right? But he wasn't sure. He was kind of unsure of himself. And we were stupid. We should have both said, yeah, you did. But we're like, oh, we thought we were caught. But he's like, see, I knew it. And then he points to the back of the car, and it's got a little mark on it. He's like, that's a defective car. This is back before they had the red and green lights, I guess. And he's like, there's a little chalk mark. He's like, you're not supposed to get in that car. And then he starts to think about it, and he's like, you guys understand that there's like 30-foot drops in there, and it's dark, and you can't see. And we both started to be like, and he let us go. I still think he probably wasn't sure, so he didn't call. He didn't get it. He was pretty cool. He didn't get us in trouble. But I always look back at that, and I'm like, that's probably close to death.
I
That
can
I
I
was.
can add to this story.
Yeah.
So you remember I told you my grandparents when I was a kid made sure that I went to Sunday school?
Yeah.
Well, I went to two different churches. Not at the same time, but I went to one and then I had gotten switched to a different one.
Yeah.
The reason for that, the first church, they used to pick us up in this blue bus, and over time, one of the seats, let's say halfway towards the backside of the middle, had rusted. A hole had rusted
Oh,
out, like
man.
where your feet go.
Right.
Now the hole is about as wide as the seat itself, and about a good foot and a half across. Right, a foot and a half easy. And they would always have an adult sit on the edge right there, so the kids wouldn't mess around. And when there was an adult, we always thought it was funny to like crawl under the seat and look at the road and just doing shit we weren't supposed to.
Right. Yeah.
So one day they had just dropped me off, right? And then all of a sudden the phone is just blowing up. Okay. After they dropped me off, one of the kids that didn't live very far from me fell through that hole
Oh.
and got ran over by the bus tire. Did not live. So they put me in a different church. And a couple months go by, and I'm ready for the bus to pick me up. And the guy knocks on the door. And at this point, I've already learned about the kid that fell through the hole. And I never told my grandmother, like, I was playing with them too. You know what I mean? But I just
Right.
got dropped off, right?
Right.
Never told her. And so the knock at the door, I see the guy, and we're walking towards the front. And it was a big property that I grew up on in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
So the street is far from the house. And I see the bus, and I just froze.
No
And
way.
I was like, I don't go to your church no more. Because the bus looks the same, right? Whether or not they got the hole fixed, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
But as soon as I saw that shit, I was like, I don't go to your church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just turned around and went back inside.
Right.
But yeah, when you were describing, there's 30-foot drops and all, that just went through my head.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that little kid did not make it.
That's definitely a somber story.
Yeah.
Not fun to hear. Poor guy. But if you tried to they have cameras in those rides now. They would shut the ride down in 5 seconds and come get you. There's no way.
I guess the point that I was kind of making was
Nice. Yeah.
back then rules were really lenient compared to now. Like, there's no way you could operate a bus like that now.
Right. Yeah.
And get away with the shit.
Yeah.
You just couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a really good point.
Like, was this when did OSHA become a thing?
It's definitely grown. My mother-in-law used to spray foam mattresses for pools with that outer plastic coating that's probably half of what they have burning in Ohio right now without any masks. And then OSHA came through and slapped on masks, and she's like, well, we used to have a lot of fun, but now it's kind of boring. They were it's like a paint huffing, basically.
Was it like polyurethane foam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ate her brain.
Dude, I was watching a video earlier. You know how you go on Facebook and you click video and they just show random videos and stuff?
Right.
Well, they had this Chinese one, and it was about making coconut jelly. And they're showing the processes of the way they chop these coconuts and pass it on to the next person, and they chop it in a different way. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, where the hell is OSHA at? How do you still have your fingers? You know what I mean? And they're doing it fast, bro. and they're grinding at the coconuts, and they just got these blades spinning, and just like, oh man, I was just like, there ain't no way you could do that here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you're rubbing up against a much bigger topic of government overlordship.
yeah,
Because they know how to do it. They grew up doing it. They know how to do it. There's no
mm,
problem. There's no problem until you try to fix a problem that doesn't exist.
right, right. Uh, no, I like watching those videos on, how it's made or like what other countries do to process certain things. I just find it curious.
But your anecdote, your anecdote reminds me that in those days they didn't even have seat belts on buses. Like,
Right.
there's no
Or
way to
in
even
Oh
strap
yeah,
in.
you're right. You're right. Do they
we
even
would
have them now?
Like if we went over a big bump, like our heads would hit the ceiling. Like
yeah.
you're just you're just sort of like hang on for dear life.
Yep.
There was no OSHA. There was no seatbelt.
Dude, when I was a kid, all right, so we'd be on a school bus, and down the street from the school, this neighborhood street, there was a speed bump. And all the kids would run to the back of the bus because the bus driver used to do it on purpose. He would
That's awesome.
speed up over this speed bump. And dude, we would be like 4 or 5 feet off of our seat, falling all over each other, laughing, giggling. We thought it was the funniest shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do that shit now.
No, you can't.
Uh,
We used to sit in the back of the station wagon and just not even be in a seat,
mm,
like driving cross town or cross country. Namster
yeah.
says 1971 for OSHA.
Okay. Nah, this was after that, but not by much.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
I was a
OSHA didn't necessarily like they're bigger now than they were then. You know what I mean?
right, right. They were more concerned about getting their foot in with corporations. They weren't
Yeah.
even thinking about the churches at that point.
Right. You got to start somewhere.
But yeah, I never forgot about that boy that fell through that hole
Ugh.
because I was just playing with them, and like not even 2 hours later, bro, the phone is, and we got that big clunky rotary phone. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it was just nonstop ringing.
All right. So check this out. One time, this would be about the year 2002, let's say, something like that.
Hmm.
Riding in the train from somewhere in New Jersey to somewhere in the city, daily commute. And it would often be crowded. And we had a nice, easy, short train ride. So a lot of times there would just be standing room only. And a lot of times you're standing between the two cars. And a lot of these trains, the New Jersey Transit trains, it would be an enclosed vestibule in between, but it's still between two cars.
Right.
So actually, and then now here, and so there's a door. The way this one was is there's a door that can slide open, and you walk up the stairs or something like that, or maybe I forget. But so I'm standing there leaning on the door, basically, and the train's bumping along, and we're all just chit chatting or reading or whatever, and I'm leaning against the door. We're on a bridge, and I'm pretty sure this part of the bridge. The train wasn't going too fast, maybe 25, 30 miles an hour. And it's going across. And all of a sudden, this door, and so we're over the Hudson River. I don't know how high we were, but it was just a train bridge. It didn't have pedestrian or anything, so you couldn't really see. You felt like we were just, if the door opened and you fell out, if you didn't get clunked into the structure of the bridge, you'd be heading to the river.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, I'm leaning right against that door, and the door opens while the train's going. You don't typically see that. So I'm teetering,
Damn.
and I'm starting to do the arm wave thing, like trying to stay on this train. And it is right at the beginning of the last 2 seconds of my life. And my friend Amanda sees this and just reaches out and grabs the shoulder, my coat, and just doesn't need a lot of force because I was right on the brink. Just pulls me back in. And I'm like, thank you. So I never lean on doors on trains ever again.
So, you know how like they have like a height requirement for kids when you're at like an amusement park?
Mm-hmm.
So the state fair had came to our part of Michigan, and they had this roller coaster that was basically just one big ass loop,
I
and
know that one. Yeah.
you would loop this way and you would loop that way, then eventually you do a full circle and
Right.
just and I'm small, bro. I'm like 5, if that, you know what I mean? And the little harness that comes over your shoulders, dude, it's not even touching my body.
No.
You know, that's how small I am, right?
Right.
And there's a pole in the middle, that from the floor to the top, there's a pole, right? And so we're in the loop part where we're completely upside down, but the hang 10 it seemed like forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm gripping to this pole for dear life because gravity is pulling me, towards the ground. And all you hear is my skin rubbing against, because I'm in my little, 1984 shorts, you know what I'm saying? And like
Right.
with the stripes and whatnot, with the striped socks, and all you hear is the skin on my knees and my grip just sliding against this pole. You know what I'm saying?
No.
And my shoulders are going in between the harness. You know what I'm saying? And my shoulders are actually past the harness at this point, and I'm holding on for dear life. And the guy next to me sees this, and he pushes his hand against my leg and like forces me back into my seat. And I'm still not letting go of this pole, so he's got to put some arm into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
dude, it happened to me twice on that ride. I never got on that shit again.
Wait.
You know what I mean? Like,
You mean twice in the same ride, or you got back
yes,
on?
yes,
Oh,
no,
okay.
twice in the same ride.
Oh, damn. That's
Ah.
crazy.
You mean you weren't always 6'2"?
Right.
No, but I mean, like, how times have changed, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
now they
oh,
got
yeah.
height requirements and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Dude, they didn't care back then.
No.
You know?
No.
Had he not done that, y'all might have never met Black Yoda. Oh man.
Any other scrapes with death from anyone? I mean, I've only told one of about 15 that I usually can list.
I got some more graphic ones, in my adult life.
Yeah.
That's for another conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I've got some near-death stuff, but it's not really pertinent to this conversation.
Not mechanical failure in a normal conveyance.
No, just angelic intervention, I guess. I don't have any other way of explaining it.
Yeah. I can add this. I get warnings sometimes about things. And it might not happen the day I got the warning, but it happens at some point later. I don't know where the warning comes from, but for me, that's a thing. And so about a month or so ago, I'm reading a link that one of my truther friends shared with me, and it was talking about how some people can't think inside of their head. So you might hear them talk out loud. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought everybody thought inside their head or had could make a mental image of what they're thinking about, and just, I just thought that was everybody. So then it made me wonder about the warnings that I get. I have no idea where those come from, but I can elaborate on the warning that I got versus the situation that I was in and could respond differently. You know what I'm saying? So a couple of these warnings have to do with a near-death experience, but where do you might suggest those warnings come from? Because it's not me predicting the future.
Yeah, I think time is a little more fluid than I used to think.
Well, it is. Like if you've ever been in a tragic accident, time slows down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ooh,
in one of my near-death experiences, I fell asleep at the wheel going 70 miles an hour. And I woke up in the ditch, and I was it was a country road, and they have ditches.
Yeah.
But
Right.
each driveway creates like a bridge across
Right.
the moat.
Right.
And I was right about to hit a mailbox, and then after that, the fucking driveway moat thing. So I panicked. When I woke up, I panicked, and I cut the wheels back onto the road, but I cut it too hard, and I flipped the van back to front, and I rolled like 4 times.
Wow.
And when I looked out the window, I'm looking out the window, and I'm watching the world go upside down, and then right side up, and then upside down. But it took forever. I'm like, when is my car going to come to a stop? This is taking, I remember thinking, this is taking forever.
Oh man.
Yeah, like when you're in a traumatic state, like
Yeah.
things completely slow down. Time gets stretched way out.
The best way to kind of describe that is like in a Spider-Man movie or like a Flash movie where you can see time like slow down when something is about to go down. Because I've experienced that a few times in my life. And it's like you notice everything. You know what I mean? As you're responding to the situation.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing.
I had
Almost
that.
almost out of body, yeah. Like you're above yourself looking down and you kind of see everything, yeah.
And it always happens in a state of emergency. I've
Right.
never had it happen to me, just being regular. You know what I mean?
I swear one time, high school, maybe freshman, sophomore, pickup game of basketball during lunch, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I got a perfect layup, and I can't jump. The old adage is true. Got a perfect layup through a big old crowd, and time slowed down, and I could just get that, the finger roll just right, and just the perfect layup. One time slowed down to me in a sports thing. It was so good.
I
Like, how did
kind of
do
had that,
Yeah.
but for me, we were actually in football practice. It wasn't even a regular game, which is the messed up part. I had got tackled, and on my left leg, as I'm going down, I could feel somebody's leg directly behind my knee.
Yeah.
As I'm folding my leg because of the
so you
tackle.
knew. Yeah.
And time did one of those slow motion things. And I literally thought to myself as I'm falling, if I continue to fall this way, my knee is going to be the fulcrum and it's going to split. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I finished that thought, I twist myself in a way to where it changes the angle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the last split second, we're all on the ground. It changed the angle so my knee didn't separate.
Right.
But dude, I had a serious limp for like 2 weeks.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Right. You like
No,
calf
that's
slice or something?
Slow motion thing. Oh my God. That's gotta be God. Because that's love right there. Like, hey, you need to pay attention right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
So when you ask who's giving you the premonition, like when you're getting these downloads or you kind of become hyper aware,
yeah.
and you're asking, is this
Because it'll
God?
be out of nowhere. Just random.
Yeah, but I'm going to throw something else at you. Like you could assume that it's God, or you could think that it's an angel. There's another way to look at it, which is a little bit more controversial. There's such a thing as your higher self.
Right. I'm aware.
Yeah. So which is it?
It's a reasonable question.
I've debated the two. I'll be honest. I've debated the two. You know.
Like, aren't you the best?
I'm assuming,
aren't you the best caretaker of yourself? If you have a higher self.
In this point, I take the road of assumption, which leads me to believe my higher self loves me as much as I love me, right? So I could understand that argument. I really can. But out of respect for God, I don't want to be. That's to me, that's egotistical. And it's hard for me to entertain that, even though I'm aware of it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Can I jump in and be a good bothist? I am the founder of a religion called Bothism.
What is? Oh, Bothism. Okay.
Yeah. So Similar to what Yoda was just saying, I'm gonna consciously attempt to carve out respect for Yahweh, but like we have spirit, soul, and body. And my best model so far, and I'm not saying I have a lot of backup for this, but some guy just said it and I haven't let it go because it seems to fit most usage. So the body would be like, the meat stuff. Spirit would be maybe what you're calling higher self. And then soul is that union of body and spirit.
Pineal gland.
Yeah, good point. So, I mean, I think there could be a higher self and the Judeo-Christian cosmos as well, both. I think they're compatible.
Wait. I just had a dark thought. I don't even know if I should share this with you guys. I'm not even
Probably
talking
not.
to you, man.
Probably not. I've got a good segue.
Yeah.
So G-Ross, let's explore that because is anyone in the audience familiar with, like, while you're sleeping, let's say like a bee or some flying insect gets into your dream and it bothers you, and it bothers you to the extent that you wake up and then you realize there's a freaking bug crawling on you or flying around your head, and you're like, get this shit out of here.
Right.
It was your higher self that woke you, who was aware of your surroundings and woke you up. Also, when you don't set an alarm and you just need to get up, like things need to get done,
sure,
you'll instantly wake up.
So, Thaggy, is it your higher self that wakes you up in the middle of the night to pee?
Because you don't want to have to change the sheets.
Well, no, but there again, you might have a dream that involves water or dripping, and it does get you up.
I remember being a kid and I had the pee-pee dream. I'm not gonna lie. I'm asleep. In the dream, I got out of bed and I walked to the bathroom.
Right.
And I'm standing there taking a piss, and I just felt nothing but relief. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
And you woke up in your cold pee.
I woke up and I was just like, ooh, that's a first. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like,
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, is it necessarily Yahweh or a guardian angel, or is there something to this higher self that's always more aware than you are?
Sounds like Yoda's higher self is the trickster.
All I know is the PP dream is real, people.
It is. It is.
But Thaggy, I don't know if so far what we're talking about is incompatible with at least my.
Because you're the bothism. You have the bothist philosophy. Okay. Right. Yeah, but I want to say, isn't there room for this notion of higher self, that you are your own guardian spirit?
I would have to agree that it's a thing, I guess the other point that I was trying to illustrate is not everybody has the same function of thought as everybody else, which I didn't even realize until recently. I thought we all thought the same,
Right. Okay, so you're almost Can I hijack that and make a point I often like to trot out? Ooh, Impeach 'em all wants us to have a prayer. Let me squeeze this in. I'll start us in a prayer for the soldiers that are hurt, dying, dead from the Tennessee-Kentucky Blackhawk crash that just happened. You guys okay with that?
I didn't hear about this. No.
I'm not even aware of it.
Yoda, do you want me to say the whole prayer or do you want to close it?
No, go ahead. I didn't even know this was a thing.
All right. I'll say the whole thing unless anybody wants to jump in. All right. I'll say one. Lord Almighty, we're just finding out about a Kentucky, Tennessee, Blackhawk area crash, and there's going to be our dead brothers in arms that have been protecting us, and there's also going to be their family, and just the spiritual impact just to the country, because that's our soldiers. So, Lord, just ask that you would please be with those families and just help us all to see the meaning in what is only looking like loss at first glance. And I ask for all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I'll look up what happened later. I didn't know.
Yeah, we were. It was in
Remember
the
I told
chat.
you I was up all night, and when I found out that I got to go pick up the equipment versus a tech coming out, I crashed. You know, so I've been asleep on everything all day.
Yeah, I think this was like a half hour ago. It was in the chat, and I kind of didn't highlight it like I should have. Let's see.
Wow.
Kentucky training. Let me get. Oh, there's a link. Let me go to the link earlier from. I'll share it on the screen. Oops. Pause. Copy. Nine people feared dead. This was. Yeah, this is real recent. Here, let me share the screen. Share. So I guess over here by Fort Campbell, or yeah, maybe near there.
A Black Hawk, that's a military plane. Was it some big ops going down?
And crashed into another one, it looks like.
Sounds like some big ops.
2
U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopters
Wow.
collided.
Did they crash into each other?
Yeah, that's what it says.
That's what it looks like.
That's bad.
Okay, well, yeah, when you're flying in low with your lights off and someone messes with your electrical signals, I don't know, maybe they got them to crash into each other.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
It's not too far from Nashville either.
Wow, yeah. So Yoda, what you were talking about, Yoda, makes me think a little bit of NPCs. And I've always heard of what you're talking about, but have you ever met anyone where you're like, they're doing that? They don't know how to, they can't think in words in their head. Like, have you ever seen it?
I got a parallel. Because this just came up this last weekend. I was with my homies at the bar, after tennis.
Right.
And one of my buddies, he's Indian. He's from Mumbai. His first language is, Indian or Hindu.
Yeah.
Or Hindi, one of the dialects of Hindi. And he says, I said to him, we all think in a language. Obviously, you think in a language. And then I got some resistance. And one of my American friends was like, I don't. I think in like symbols and just gut feeling. And then I asked my Indian friend, I was like, well, you speak multiple languages. I was like, when you're dreaming, what language do you dream in? And I was hoping that he was going to tell me Hindi, because that's his first language. That's probably when you're asleep and whatever, you're probably going to default to your default language.
Mm-hmm.
But he thought about it and he was like, I don't remember my dreams.
My roommate is like that. She says she doesn't remember hers.
I was like that. Probably 90% of my adolescent and adult life, I really didn't dream at all, or at least didn't remember any of them. But starting about 2 years ago, I started remembering my dreams again, and I have no idea why.
Because we're all ascending.
Wait, you guys want to hear something funny? It's off of one of my near-death ones.
Yep.
So back in 2000, I was shot. Okay, shot in the gut actually, and I was in the hospital for about 5 days, racking up one hell of a hospital bill. And they had me on morphine, and I had this guy nurse that would come in at night. And I remember the first time I met him, he was like, hey, I don't want to keep coming back all night, so I'm just going to give you the morphine all in one shot.
What?
Now keep in mind, I don't do drugs, okay?
Right.
And before I could object, he had already inserted it, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, right?
Dang.
And I had the craziest dream. Okay. Now, before I elaborate on this dream, after 2 days of him, I noticed on one of the nurses' desks, they have a dictionary for what different drugs are. And I look up morphine. Now, part of my hospital stay is they're waiting. I had the surgery and the bullet only went through a couple of spots in my intestines, no organs, no nothing, just my intestines. Yeah. And they did surgery on that. But when you have surgery on your intestines, it paralyzes them. And they're waiting for my intestines to kick back in.
Okay.
Now, some of the side effects I'm reading in this book, because I asked her if I could borrow it. I'm looking up the side effects of morphine. And it says it slows down your digestive system. You'll have these wild dreams and a couple other things. And so I asked the doctor, when I saw him next, why do you have me on morphine if it slows down your digestive process and you're waiting for mine to kick back in? I was like, I don't want this shit no more. Now, I didn't explain to him about these dreams. Okay. Right. So that first night, that dude just gives me the full dose. Right. And dude, I don't remember the entire dream, but towards the end, I'm like in this parking lot and it's nighttime. And all of a sudden, these 3 Rottweilers come out of nowhere. Okay. And I'm running for dear life. And I come up towards this chain link fence that's like 10 feet tall. Okay. And I jump as hard as I can. And I'm scrambling to the top. But there wasn't a bar at the top of the fence. And so I'm holding on to the top. And the fence is slowly arcing backwards towards the fucking dogs. You know what I mean? And every time I touch the ground, I would jump back up. And all 3 of the dogs will be trying to nip at my ankles.
Terrible.
And I'm doing this for like 5 minutes, bro. And I just woke up in a sweat. Like, what the hell was that? You know what I'm saying?
That sucks. Dude,
sucks. I'm springing off of this fence, 'cause I can't get over it because there's not a bar to grab onto. You know what I mean?
My sister once was pregnant with twins, and she had to get ketamine for one of the.
Oh, that's that horse tranquilizer, isn't it?
Yeah, there's certain drugs that are good for certain situations, like pregnant ladies. And she said, "Oh yeah, I saw Infinity. It was absolute hell." She basically went to a place where she was forever like this, like she described it as like a coordinate system. She was like a grid, and she just was that, and maybe a couple other aspects, like forever. She said, like, yeah, no, it was literally eternity.
Damn.
Yeah, so she's like, it sucks.
I've had mental images of eternity. And I picture it kind of like a grid. Say you have a grid. You can get gridded paper.
Yeah.
Now picture gridded paper. And I don't remember if this was a dream or just a thought. But in the mental image that I was projecting and thinking about, I'm slowly focusing on one square in the grid. And then when that one square takes up the entire focus, it just fills in with more grid. And you can focus on another square. And as it fills up to complete the focus of the image, it just fills in with more grid and just keeps going and going. And you get what I'm saying?
Fractal-ish kind of, right?
That sounds like meditation. It sounds like a time dilation too. A spatial representation of time dilation.
Right.
It's like time doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But yeah, until recently, I didn't realize how different people think.
But dude, my question is I guess, so there was that one example that Thaggy was mentioning. But have you ever really met someone that when you probe that, I'm trying to think of what you described, Thaggy.
You know what? Not to be funny, but my father could easily be what you're trying to describe. Because when I try to talk to him, it's a brick wall. It's like nothing. He's already made up his mind.
So I will say this, in my 6th year of Spanish, and I'm no longer fluent, but hopefully I could get it back if I needed it. I dreamed in Spanish once. So I'm like, Yes. That was way back,
dude.
like
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh,
I
nice.
once had a dream in French.
Wait.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So
I was
you
5
remember,
years into French, and I finally had my first dream,
Isn't that cool?
and I also considered it a success.
Yeah.
dude? So you remember the BMW I was telling you about?
Yeah.
Ross, and the sound system that I had.
Yep.
So I like to listen to music in other languages, especially like Portuguese, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be that Sade style, that with that jazzy funk, you know?
Right.
Bossa Nova.
Yeah, right. And so there, with the way I have my Pandora set up, there's this one song that comes up, and because of the subsystem that I had is on the bassy side, it's a jazzy funk, and keep in mind it's in a different language, right? And so I had this dream, and I really like this song. Okay, I had this dream, and I'm walking toward this building, but I'm kind of like in an alley, and I see that my car is parked between the two buildings in a crossing alley, right? And one of my car doors is open, and my car is on, and the music is playing, and it's loud. I can hear it from where I'm standing, right? And it's playing that song in Portuguese, word by word, instrument by instrument, and it's playing for like a good 2 minutes because I'm trying to get closer to my car because further down that alley, there's three guys walking towards my car, and I want to get there before they do. And so what really tripped me out was when I woke up, I could hear that song playing perfectly as if I was listening to it off of Pandora. It's in a different language. I don't know how to play music instruments, but it was literally playing perfectly. That really tripped me out.
So what you're pointing out, and they've found this neurologically, you hear in your brain, not in your ears.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's also the phenomenon which is called earworm.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
It's like getting
Earworm?
rickrolled.
Yeah. It's when you can't get a song out of your head.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It's the fact that it played so perfectly, and that wasn't even the part of my thought process in the dream. In the dream, I'm thinking to myself, I need to get to my car. In the dream, I'm not even thinking about the fact that it's playing this song. I didn't think about that until after I woke up. And I was thinking about how perfectly it was playing it. How was it singing in Portuguese the way she does on the song? And I don't even speak Portuguese.
Because it was already earwormed. You had passive listening. That's how the brain works, I guess.
So what were we talking about when Rev said, it's the drive I find disturbing, Yoda? That was a while back. I'm just going over to my Twitch chat. It's the drive I find disturbing, he said. It was before the Aloe. That's way back. My bad.
Are you talking about the drive to Orlando?
Yeah, it must be. It was way back.
I was really surprised that the distance was a lot farther than what I thought it would be.
Yep.
I mean, I never looked before. I never looked at, how wide does that Gulf of Mexico expand?
Right. That thing is huge. Well, let me draw us to a close if you all don't mind, because I do eventually have to wake up.
Now we're almost at the 2-hour mark.
Yep. Well, I stole half hour for the reading, so this is only like a. Does it say on the Jitsi? It's almost 2 hours. You're right.
Yeah, but we stayed on topic, right?
Oh, this was fantastic.
You know what? It's gonna get good in the next couple of pages, and I expect between the four of us, we can attack this animal full beast mode, because this is when all hell breaks loose, people. So hopefully I come up with some good nuggets to add to the conversation.
I'm a little struck between I think I'm going to just finish out the chapter, so it might be kind of like next week, and then the week after starts with the Lot scene.
You want to close with a teaser? Let me look it up real quick.
I don't know. I was looking at how I'll try to squeeze in some of chapter 19 to next week.
Yeah, well, the last time you did a teaser, all we wanted to talk about was what comes next.
Awesome. I'll try to.
So,
Yeah.
So you should have finished with 22.
Yeah.
Because at 23, that's when
finish with 20.
Abraham intercedes for the people of Sodom.
Right.
Where he's kind of like, "Are you really gonna kill them all?"
Yeah,
you
so
know
that's
what I mean?
going to be.
What about the good ones?
Yeah, but
And
that's
so
only going to take.
between 23 and
Right.
33, that's not a whole lot. So you're gonna have to tease 19 a little bit.
Well, so do you want me to just try to? I'll do some of 19 next week then.
If you take 19 from 1 to 11, that's
Actually, yeah, that's true. You should tackle 19 through the 10th verse, so we just get through the main story of the depravity.
I think this would be very appropriate. And if Thaggy agrees, then I think that's a vote.
Because if that's some great metaphor, and if it plays again later, we'll want to have that behind us, and then we can get into the specifics with the angels and stuff later.
Oh yeah, I got goosebumps. I think this is very appropriate.
All right. It may take like 45 minutes to get that read and chopped
No, it's
up.
not, I'm looking at it. It's not that long.
Yeah, but I got to do I'm not skipping any of the Bible, so I got to do there's about 5 pages.
Actually, you could almost put that all on one page from what I'm looking at.
Right.
So it's not a whole hell of a lot, but I mean, it's got a lot of content if you read between the lines,
So I've already done 22 through 33. That's going to be 20 minutes right there.
Okay.
So the part you guys are talking about is probably another 20 minutes. So it'll be a little longer than normal, but I'll see what I can do.
That's fine. That's fine.
Right.
Because that's where the juiciness starts.
Okay. All right.
This is like the hot wing in the Bible. You know what I mean? Like this is. So yeah. Oh, you know what? I just saw something. Oh man, where did I see this? Hopefully, I bookmarked it. But they were talking about in the Sodom and Gomorrah area, one of the two. There's a certain type of brimstone that you can't find anywhere on Earth.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
where did I see that?
They're like sulfur pebbles embedded in the cliff, right?
It's still
Something like
exactly.
that, yeah.
It's still there. It's still there. Yeah.
I will, after we hang up, I'll check my DMs. Matter of fact, let me write this down so I don't forget. Because if I can find something, can find something short on that, that'd be very appropriate for the upcoming, excuse me for a second. I'm gonna be writing this down.
But it wouldn't entirely leave out some kind of like geological force or some kind of force of nature, right? That be like it wouldn't just because you find sulfur in these alleged places doesn't prove that the story is literally true.
I haven't looked into that, but I could probably do that before next week. I saw like a documentary years ago that they were showing that stuff, but there's certainly questions about, well, if it's in a cliff, can you date it to the right time, blah, blah, blah. So I'll do a little studying before next week on that, but also
I'm just saying, you know how these things go. There's always hypothesis fitting. They want to put the hypothesis ahead of the evidence.
Right.
So that whenever any evidence comes up, they're like, oh, look, this proves. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. No, it doesn't prove.
Yeah, but we have to get our metaphysics straight first.
There are other ways to form elemental sulfur in the natural environment other than volcanics, but volcanics are usually considered the most common.
Well, they were illustrating how this particular type is only found in the Sodom Gomorrah area.
Yeah,
But Yoda,
I think that's what they said in that TV show, but I'd have to verify that. I think.
isn't the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah very like the way it's described? Isn't it very much like a volcanic eruption, where things are like flying down from the sky?
Yeah, that. Well, actually, there's a paper that I read, oh, maybe a year ago. I could probably dig it up, where certain people who've investigated some of the ancient cities in the northern Dead Sea area think that there's a very odd destruction layer associated with what they think was an airburst meteorite, and the timing's perhaps in the ballpark.
Are you talking about the vitrification?
Yeah, that's one of the things they found. I think
How
there were some
common
other things that
are
suggested it
airburst
too.
meteorites?
What?
How common is an airburst meteorite?
Well, probably commonality is inversely proportional to size. So there's probably a lot of small ones and very few big ones. But
That's true. That's true, actually.
you've all seen the video of that one from Russia in 2013, I think it was, the Chelyabinsk meteorite.
The one that blew over the trees?
No, that's Tunguska. That happened over 100 years ago. But in 2013, there was a meteorite that blew up in midair over Chelyabinsk, Russia, which is in Siberia, but not necessarily Tunguska. And it's been they recorded it in all kinds of security cameras, automobile cameras, and stuff like that. And it was big. It like blew windows out of buildings and stuff from the shockwave. And I think they ended up finding a lot of pieces of it too in the aftermath. But if you go out on YouTube and type in Chelyabinsk, you can see what it looked like.
Yeah, I've seen the YouTube video. It basically was a bright light. It kind of created like daylight in the middle of the night. It was so bright.
Yes, some videos it looks like it was dusk to me when it hit. So there's still some ambient light, but yeah, it was really bright.
For my closing, I can back you up on that. I've got a footnote here. One of my jobs, I had to study like in detail environmental science, and like one of the questions like, what is dust made out of? And most people would assume that dust is made out of just dead skin cells, but actually dust is a lot of things. Dust is insect legs, pet dander.
Yeah,
it's topsoil that blows off in the wind, and it's also, like you're saying, with the inverse relationship, it's also meteoric debris.
Yeah, there's probably some of that.
All those meteors that disintegrate into the atmosphere, they land on your windowsill in the form of dust.
I could believe that. I don't have any firsthand experience studying that, but I don't think that's unreasonable.
All I'm saying is dust is not one thing. It's many little particulate things.
Sure.
I mean,
That's
you
a
have all kind of
cosmic.
particulates that are continuously breaking down and breaking down, you know? So, yeah, it's made of, it's
And
compromised.
it's pollen and other allergens.
Yeah,
It's a lot of things. That's why people like me, I have dust allergies. It's not like I'm allergic to dead skin cells. I'm allergic to the pollen and
You're dead
the
to
insect parts.
You're allergic to the cricket legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Eat your bugs.
the frog legs.
That was a cosmic closer.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm good for the close. I'm looking forward to next week. That's going to be fun.
Duppy.
Yes.
Anything?
Fun discussion. Too bad I got here late, but as I told you, I get called every night by my newly awoken buddy. So
That's
he
good.
has a lot to talk about every day. So
Right on. Well, I will close with one comment kind of following up on Thaggy. And then once I hang up, I'll play some outro music and talk about the upcoming shows and etc. So we'll be back here next week. My closing comment will be, in the famous words of Kansas, all we are is dust in the wind. I couldn't help it.
All right, fellas. It's been fun.
Carry on, wayward son.
Thank you, brother.
I will talk to you guys next week.
All right. Bye, team.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night,
Bye.
all.
Later, chat.
All right. Let's start the music, shall we? Build up to the end is what that's called. Video capture device. Activate. All right. So, team, this has been 9D Nation, the nation with no denomination, with panelists Black Yoda, P-Thaggy, and Duppy, in that order. Next week, I think they are their own free will agents, but I'm pretty sure it sounds like they'll all be here. I know Black Yoda is committed. We'll be covering the rest of Chapter 18, and sounds like some of 19 from what I was just roped into. I'll do it. Friday, real quick half-hour show if work allows, because I got to go to a Angular concert. It'll just be me. And then Sunday night, I don't know if we're going to have the Bible prophecy with the Texan this Sunday or next Sunday or the one after. I got to kind of ping him, but that's going to be coming up one of these weeks, according to the chat that you just saw. But anyway, let me leave it at that. Those are the 3 upcoming shows that'll round you back to this spot here. I'm going to, let me release the scratching. Whew, almost forgot. Let's see. The scratching has been released. I'm going to swing by Uncle Krusty, and I always stop by Sloan TV chat. And I see Sword of Michael is up. Ooh, and Hat is up. Man, TikToks is up. Sinise or Shananon, quite frankly, is probably playing something. Save My Freedom, DJ Brandak, Sloan Sporch, Radio 8424, Zedel Fastro, Pastor Chatelet, and Patriot News. All right. Let me show you that you too can scratch. Do it, scratch. Grats to Duppy, who's won 1 gold pillow from the scratching. All right, real outro coming up now. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9D Nation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.